like us, make the wrong choice, the wrong turn, or maybe take us on a journey that's maybe not as direct as we could have. Right? So but it depends on what we ask it, like you said, the questions you ask of it, or the
Yeah.
requests that you make of it. Because you might think, oh, this is the direction we should take to get there. And it's going to go, oh, yeah, you're right. Okay, we'll try that. Because maybe it doesn't quite know, because it is that back and forth.
I hate to interrupt this discussion because I think it was getting very interesting there. But one of the things we have to remember is that all of these chatbots are trained to please the user. So they're going to
Yeah.
come out with what it thinks the user would most likely want to hear.
Yeah. And
Uh,
that's what I was saying. Yeah.
Right. And so but there are some measures we can get into discussing those. There's some things you can do that will definitely make it a little bit more realistic in what it's how it's responding to us. But we are now 11 minutes in. So ding. I'm Bill Graham. I'm the president of the Rotary Dare to Be Great Global eClub. And I declare this meeting on 2 August 2025 to be open. So, the topic for today, we didn't have a meeting last week. I was at a Model UN conference in New York, and so I was not able to organize a meeting. That was a very interesting session that we had. Normally, the summer sessions. I'm the coordinator for the Future We Want Model UN conferences. So we're the largest organizer of Model UN conferences around the world. We'll be in 20 cities next year in every continent. And but the summer sessions are normally not that huge. We do in New York, we have a session usually in March, April timeframe, and then one in July. And July, because the schools are not in session, it's much more heavily focused on international students than American students. So we had, I would say, about 600 delegates, student delegates from about 50 countries, and amazing, amazing. These young people. Uh, we had delegates, the youngest delegates I've ever seen, some as young as 10 years old. And normally we don't have anybody under the age of 16. But
Could I ask, Bill, is this going to happen in Toronto area?
I have to check to see where we are on rolling out in North America. We are,
I'd love to be able to see if we can host for next year, because we're organizing our ideas forum. The city of
uh-huh.
Markham is going to host that. So this year we had the Canada Africa Business Summit, which now I'm on the organizing committee for next year. City of Markham, where I live,
Yeah.
is going to be the host, and we're rebranding it as the Canada Global South Ideas Forum, and we're going to turn it into a festival.
Let's talk about that because we are expanding. As I said, we are New York and Washington, D.C. We're adding Los Angeles here in North America. I think we've got coming up Bogota, Mexico City, Rio in South America.
Because I believe we can get the mayors on board, because the mayor of City of Markham is already on board with,
Yeah,
he's going to host.
the thing here normally that plays a role because we normally have guest speakers. In the case when we're in New York, we actually have the permanent representatives, the ambassadors of a number of countries will come and talk, as
Yep.
well as the heads of some of the UN departments. Uh,
We'll definitely we'll be inviting royalty
uh-huh.
to come out, because right, if you remember, next summer, the reason we're doing it next summer
Mhm.
here in Markham, FIFA World Cup.
Okay.
So
Well,
what we want to do is we're going to
that's
do some
not
bubble
that's
fun
not
soccer games
yeah, but
for
that's
the
not always such
families.
a good thing here. I was just in a meeting. Let's see, what's today? Saturday. on Wednesday with one of the largest hotel chains in New York because we're having a problem finding space big enough
Yeah.
uh,
No,
to uh,
well,
to
well,
handle the
the
conferences.
World
That's
Cup is hosted by Toronto.
yeah.
We're going to be in Markham, which is north, and we're gonna start like we're already starting to organize this.
Yeah, but
So
here's the problem. If hosting a space for 1,000 people who are working on things is not always that easy.
yeah,
And
well, we'll figure it out because
Okay,
there's
we'll
it's the
talk
city
about
of
that.
Markham,
We'll
right?
talk about that.
They're gonna be hosting it.
Yeah. At any rate, one of the things we were talking about here is a follow-up to something we started talking with these young delegates about in April in Washington and in New York about developing a diplomat's toolkit with artificial intelligence support that would help really do almost PhD level work on whatever the topic of the committees, because we're here simulating the actual UN committees. And the first thing is it can help them really understand every single issue, then to understand what are the positions of all the stakeholders, starting with the country they represent. Keep in mind, they're assigned to a committee. The committee has several topics based on whatever the UN has been talking about, and so they've got to really understand the issues. They have to understand the positions of their country and why. Then they have to understand the positions of all the other countries that they're going to be trying to come to a consensus with, to understand negotiation strategies for collaborating to build that consensus. And so we're seeing a lot of opportunities here that AI can play a role there. Anyway, though, that was just pointing
Hmm.
out that we didn't have a meeting last week and but the world of AI and education didn't stop just because we didn't have a meeting. So we have so much to talk
Did you
about. What's that, Lloyd?
could I ask, did you like during the last week's event there in New York, did you start utilizing AI in those
No, we
settings yet?
didn't, but a number of the delegates or delegations really did. Actually, here some of the delegates there have actually have their own companies in AI.
Hmm.
So
Some of the
even though I said
10-year-olds?
here we had some delegates as young as 10 and 12 years old, that most of the delegates are usually on the verge of high school and university.
Hmm.
And some of them are in their early 20s and have become entrepreneurs. It's
Good.
very interesting to follow that. So, but anyway, we have a lot that happened in these last 2 weeks. There's been a ton of new feature releases. The last meeting we had 2 weeks ago, we talked about Grok 4, and we talked about the impending release of ChatGPT 5, which is still impending. They're teasing us along to make sure that we're all paying attention, or they're saying, "Oh, okay, we have to." Because Grok 4 came out and set some new standards, we got to up our game a little bit before we release this thing. So we'll see, but the leaks keep getting more and more, and so we'll see how soon that comes. But the things that did come out are very, very interesting. Now, we've been sort of from our club's perspective, up until COVID, we were all about education, education, education as the way to build the engagement to address all the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals. And that was until the end of 2022. We were still in COVID, so we weren't able to get back into all of the project plans that we had, which, as many of you know, our club is based on setting goals based on what's needed and not what we think we can do. So when we look at education, we're not looking to see what's a technique we can use or how can we improve the learning of a couple of dozen students or whatnot. We literally are looking to say, how do we change the outcomes for hundreds of millions? Not even millions, but hundreds of millions. Because if we are going to have an impact on the evolution of the world, which is what is needed with regards to the other SDGs, we have to find ways to get the hundreds of millions engaged.
I
So,
believe that
and
the
we're
numbers should
supposed,
actually be billions.
well, actually, well, you get into enough hundreds of millions, you got the billions, right? But the key thing we're looking at, we Rotary, we're supposed to be the largest association of business and civic leaders in the world. And as such, here uh, we should be one of the largest collections of people with strategic skills and experience. So we shouldn't shy away just because a problem is big. It just means we've got to think more. I have a little bit of a problem with Rotary's "People of Action" uh, um, tagline, if you would, because I'm seeing an awful lot of action and not enough thinking. And so we were trying to encourage, okay, let's look at the problem and let's figure out what we need to do and not just jump on the first action that we can think of. So when with education, we came up with the plan for the Global Readathon, which we are hoping, still hoping, that we can kick off with the Secretary General of the United Nations. And that is based on the idea of the fact that we've had a dramatic loss of literacy, ability of 10-year-olds to read in the world since the beginning of COVID that we haven't really recovered from. 30% increase in the number of 10-year-olds worldwide that can't read. Yes, Lloyd.
I was actually thinking perhaps you might be willing to be a guest speaker at a conference that's upcoming in Brampton, Ontario, in September, on September 10th. There's a conference being hosted by the city of Brampton, in collaboration with a number of other organizations, but it's called actually Post-COVID. And it's basically like they're thinking about how do we realign and rethink post-COVID recovery. Um, so that's, I think, the great topic to present during that
Yeah.
event.
Well, I think here I'm happy to talk about that and think about how we might be able to make that happen. But the thing that we're looking at here is actually using education and COVID as an excuse to figure out how do we get the whole world to be engaged in something. If we go back pre-COVID, 2019, the preparations were being made for the 75th anniversary of the United Nations, which was in 2020. The Secretary General's number one concern, he was basically saying, look, we're not going to celebrate because we don't have anything to celebrate. More and more countries and people around the world are turning their backs on the idea of international cooperation and multilateralism. And so the number one concern is how do we get more people engaged? Because we can't solve the problem if everybody's just looking at it and going, that's really bad. We've got to get people willing to do something
Mhm.
about it, to act. And to do that, we first have to get them concerned enough about it. So, the Secretary General, his plan for the 75th anniversary was all built around this idea to create town hall meetings all around the world to get people to be actively talking about the problems the world's facing and what we can do about that and trying to get them engaged. Well, we all know what happened in 2020. It started off the year, boom, COVID actually Started even in 2019, but it hit the world scene in 2020 and everything ground to a halt. So the biggest concern is how do we get people to be willing to be engaged in something? So our thought was when we looked and said, okay, well, we've got all the COP conferences that take place every year about climate change and so forth. And what has that accomplished? We have all the peace structures around the world saying, "Hey, we got to do something to promote peace and reduce conflict," but that's not something here that we're able to actually get people to do something about. So when we looked, we said, what is the thing that nobody's going to stand up and saying, we don't want that? And we came to the conclusion that's the education of their kids. We don't believe anybody is going to object to their kids getting a better education. So we said, what can we do that's very simple, very easy to understand that would get the majority of young people around the world to participate in something where it would create an excuse to celebrate those young people, basically turn them into heroes, and get them so proud that they're looking and saying, "What can we do next? What can we do next?" So that was the basic idea. And the solution idea actually came about from a number of 9 and 10 year olds that we had challenged to come up and dare to come up with a great idea. And th that was basically an early act club, which is um, I think what is it, from 7 to 12 is the typical age bracket there. These kids that we spoke to in this one school were 9 and 10, and we spoke to, I guess, about 70 kids there, and challenged them to come up with a great idea. And their idea was they wanted something that would help their classmates improve their reading, but they also wanted because they had a lot of kids that maybe had a migration background, maybe their parents didn't speak English, maybe their parents didn't even know how to read. And so at any rate here, we saw when these kids were writing the mistakes they were making, large numbers of mistakes. So at any rate, after we challenged them to come up with something great, and we told them about this 10-year-old girl in Iowa that when Hurricane Katrina hit in New Orleans in 2006 or seven, it was something like that. She got some 10-year-old friends together and they decided they wanted to do something for the victims of Katrina. So their idea is they wanted to raise money for the victims of Katrina, and they set a goal to raise $1 million. And so here's a bunch of 10-year-old kids saying, we're going to go raise $1 million. And of course, most of the adults just laughed at them and say, yeah, yeah, 10-year-olds. We know about 10-year-olds. And they said, no, no, we're going to do this. We're going to do it by this date. And the day came and went, and they didn't raise $1 million. They raised $10 million. So now they're on this girl's on all these talk shows, and everybody, saying, well, how did you do that? How did you come up with this idea? And she's going, what's all this fuss about? Any random kid could have done it. You just got to try. And to prove her point, she went home and she raised $10 million again for other causes. So these we told these 9 and 10 year old kids, hey, here, take the example, come up with a big idea. And and we left. That's all we did. And a couple of weeks later, the principal called us back and said, hey, the kids want to talk to you. They have an idea. And they said, okay, we want to do something that's going to help our classmates improve their reading, but we also want to do something about all these children we heard about in developing countries around the world who can't go to school because they have no food. So they have to spend all day begging and foraging for food just to survive to another day. And so we want to do something that's going to be able to provide them with foods in school so they can go to school so they can learn to read also. And their idea was a readathon. They would go out to their friends, neighbors, find sponsors who would pledge a small donation for every hour that they would read for a certain period. And so we said, "Hey, great idea, go for it." I mean, we didn't help them at all. We just said, "Go for it," and left. And sure enough, they managed to get 70 classmates from age 6 all the way up to age 10 because that was the highest grade in that school. And they read for 10 days, and those 70 students were able to raise enough money to be able to take 250 children off the streets in Malawi, Africa, get them into school and feed them for an entire year. So, uh, just a minute, Lloyd. So, at any rate, so that was what they did, and then that resulted in having a ceremony in the school to honor these kids who had done this, these 70 kids. And we had a former UN ambassador, a CNN Hero of the Year award winner, a congresswoman sent messages, the mayor, all coming and descending on these schools and saying, "You kids are heroes. You're heroes." And so 2 weeks later, I was the chaperone on a bus of Interact students who are typically high school students. So they are most of those students were 16 to 18. And I told them about what these primary students had done and the result. And then a couple of the students came up to me and they were saying, "Wow, 70 children, 70 students were so able to so dramatically change the lives of 250 of the world's poorest children. Imagine." And I'm thinking to myself, they're about to say, we could do that too. They didn't. They said, imagine if we could mobilize 70 million children to participate in a readathon like that. And so they then went and made a video. And the video just presented the idea, and they asked me if I could help them promote the video. Well, I have a Facebook account, but I've never used Facebook, so I just posted that video in the Facebook. Somehow 20,000 people found it in a period of a little over a month. And they had young people from about 35 countries contact them saying, "Wow, this sounds like a great idea. We want to participate. Can we get involved?" And that from that idea, this whole concept grew. Okay, how do you get the word out and so forth? And the idea came about to see if we could get the Secretary General to issue an appeal. Now I'm going to update it because now we're post-COVID of what we're looking to see. Can we get the Secretary General to announce? And that is to first describe how bad the state of education in the world currently is. Two out of every three 10-year-olds in the world cannot read effectively. Two out of every three. And so to announce how bad it is and how bad the impact of COVID was and the difficulty in recovering from the education losses due to COVID, that he would then issue an appeal for the world to unite in demonstrating their resolve to overcome the education losses due to COVID by having all children in schools, K through 12, all students, to participate in the world's largest readathon, which would ask them to read 40 minutes a day across any subjects, across any reading, whether it's assigned reading or they're reading on their own, whether they're reading the back of cereal boxes or what, we're not going to care what they're reading, just that they're reading, and that 40 minutes a day for 1 month. And that Rotary clubs and Lions clubs and other service organizations around the world would be asked to rally their communities behind their students to encourage participation and make that 40 minutes be a minimum of 40 minutes, but encourage more by getting local businessmen and local individuals to make small pledges to their own children to encourage their own children to read, so that those small businessmen might be asked, would you be willing to pledge a small amount for every hour read in one of the local schools, your neighborhood, or in one classroom in a local school, not the individual student. We found out when we go to the individual student, that results, some students are shy. We saw that that caused sometimes a student to feel bad if they weren't getting the kind of support others were getting. So, but we're saying do it on a classroom basis or on a school basis. And the thing that's so amazing about that is if we could and the hope is through UNESCO. There's 250 countries where the ministries of education are supporting literacy programs to get them to echo the appeal of the Secretary General. By the way, the Secretary General would also point out this would be the largest organized human endeavor in the history of mankind in the history of mankind. So we're offering an opportunity for people to become part of the largest organized human endeavor in mankind's history. But then having all the ministers of education at the national levels or state levels echo the Secretary General's appeal to their schools and education structures with the goal of maximizing participation. We had presented this at the time to a couple of ministers of education and trying to get a sense of how many children they thought would participate in their country. And in one country, the estimate was over 40 million because they would just mandate it. They would just mandate that all schools would have to participate in their country. And we anticipate that a number of countries might follow that example. So, but if in the end we could get 50% of students worldwide to participate in this global readathon, that would result in about 500 million students participating. If each of those students read 40 minutes a day on average, that would be 20 hours during the month. Well, 20 hours times 500 million students would be 10 billion hours read. If we got pledges that averaged only 20 cents per hour read around the world. And in the US, we saw on some pilots that the pledges ranged to as high as $5. So if we're looking at 20 cents average, because countries like Malawi and Nepal, we might only have a couple of cents involved. But if we average 20 cents, that would be $2 billion. To put that in perspective, the Secretary General at the World Summit for Education 2.5 years ago at the General Assembly, that he and Gordon Brown were calling for the establishment of a fund to support worldwide education. And their goal was over several years to raise $2 billion. And here we're talking about being able to raise that much in less than a year and then dedicate that to reducing the number of children worldwide who are not in school due to poverty or hunger. And the estimate is we would be able to reduce that number by more than 10 million in 1 year. Now, that sounds like, oh, okay, well, that's good in its own right. We're encouraging reading. All the students that participated will probably a number of them will improve their reading skills because 20 hours doesn't sound like a lot, but for a lot of the students that would be involved, that's probably more than they've ever read in their lives. The other thing is, oh, we're raising a lot of money to reduce the number of kids not in school. That's a great goal too. But remember what I said, our real goal was to foster engagement. So the idea is in the year following the readathon that we would encourage in every community where we have Lions clubs, Rotary clubs, and other organizations to organize an honor ceremony to honor all of the students who participated in the readathon as global citizen heroes because the hours they read led to the raising of the money that so dramatically changed the lives of millions of the world's poorest children. And maybe they get a t-shirt that says, I'm a hero. Or I'm a global hero, or whatever. But the idea here is to just boost the pride factor for them and their families such that they're going around town, and they're a hero, and we encourage the Rotary clubs and the Lions clubs to get the whole community to be going up to them and saying, "Oh, great going, you're a hero," so that we boost that pride factor, so that these young people are looking and saying, "What can we do next? what can we do next? We like this hero feeling. And we have an entire series of 10 other projects that we've defined that build on top of that here, where we can do competitions in school, but the kind of competitions where, let's say, the students are looking at the future they want, they're making a little skit about the future they want and how they might get there, and then presenting that in a competition where we have panel of judges. Let's say 8 schools compete, and then we have judges, but we also go and broadcast that on the internet and invite the general public to vote. So the kids are going and saying, "Hey, Mom, Dad, you gotta watch this. We're going to be on tomorrow. Watch this and vote." So now all these adults are hearing about all the things that maybe need improvement and could be being worked on. And as we go up the scale, so we have maybe 8 schools compete. The winning school goes up to the next level, and then they compete at that level. And the solutions are getting better and better, and the amount of participation is getting greater and greater. So there might be one where we have the skit about the state of the sustainable development goals in the communities that the kids are reporting on and saying what we can do about this. And if you're thinking, what can kids do? There's a thing called Design for Change out of Ahmedabad, India, where they encourage middle school students to come up with outrageous ideas and then do something about them. And some of those kids in some communities, and there's 10,000 schools at least that participate in this now, they said, "Hey, the roads in our community are in bad shape." So the kids organized going out and repairing all the roads in their community. So, I mean, how crazy is that you're going and having 12 and 13-year-old kids taking responsibility for repairing the roads in their community? But So then we had another one here. Who could come up with the most outrageously audacious fight song about the future we want? And so we encourage all music teachers to get their students developing songs and competing at that level. And The other thing here is then we said about posters. Have a poster competition where these would go all the way up to the UN, where the goal is to have a poster that every child could end up having a poster mounted on the ceiling over where they sleep. That's the first thing they see in the morning and the last thing they see at night, which is talking about the future we want. So it's all about engagement. Anyway, I went way too deep down that rabbit hole and off to the side on that. But That is a little bit why our club is called Dare to Be Great. We don't care about the scope of the problem. It's about coming up with the ideas of what we can do something. Now, Lloyd, you've been having your hand up and you've been so patient. Please, yes, Lloyd.
I'm actually really glad that you said that whole thing, Bill, because I am recording this, and I think that's very, very solid base for what we would like to do. So really, I want to operationalize what you just described. I want to make this happen. Let's make it happen. I believe it can happen through, as I mentioned, the engagement this year that that post-COVID conference. I left the link in the chat for that, along with a proposal. That proposal that I put in the chat there, and that I'm putting more right now, was generated by AI, ChatGPT in particular, based on what we're doing and its suggestions for how to move forward with these ideas. And so when you mentioned the heroes idea, ChatGPT had come up with this idea of water heroes. So that will be one of the programs that we will bringing forward to the delegates that are going to be attending that post-COVID uh, gathering in Brampton next month. And just to let you know, that gathering will include a number of representatives from countries from around the world, in particular through the Global South initiatives. of the Canadian government. My colleague just attend was in um, Ottawa for the past, I believe, 9 days, attending meetings with high-level delegates from countries from around the world, in particular from across Africa, but from countries everywhere in the world who will have an official delegation attending that summit in Brampton. So you'll be able to connect with fairly high-level people at the government level in a number of countries if you were to be able to attend or at least um, deliver a presentation at this event. So the other thing is that this event in Brampton is a pre-event essentially for next year's much bigger event in Markham that I mentioned.
Yeah.
So this other event is bigger. I believe, though, that what you have described as well, in terms of the fundraising, if the funds that were raised by the readathon and through Rotary actions were then to be directed into a community fund, where that community fund is then used to invest in what's called foundational security solutions. In other words, the foundational security meaning the systems for production of food, energy, water, shelter, and all of the basics of life through entrepreneurship programs, especially with the young people, to create community infrastructure that would ensure their prosperity
Yeah.
long to the future. So it's not no longer we're going to raise funds this year and those funds will last them, let's say, 6 months or a year
Mhm.
of security. We want to ensure
Yeah.
long-term permanent
Yeah.
security by
Actually,
investing
Lloyd, I should,
those funds into the
yeah,
community itself.
I should mention here the actually the idea had evolved a little bit further to make it an annual event. And with the assumption if it's that successful in year one, we would get even a higher percentage of involvement because all those students that didn't participate, let's say in that first year, were hoping to create a jealousy or envy of the attention that the students that did participate were receiving, so that in the subsequent year that they're saying, "Hey, I'm not missing this. I'm going to be part of that." And perhaps even making it so maybe at one part of the year there's something on literacy, another part of the year something on math and numeracy side. And the idea of targeting the children out of school is because the countries where most children are out of school are not able to finance. In other words, the fundraising that would come from the pledges, mostly of the countries with higher per capita GDP, would be used to reduce the number of children not in schools in countries with low per capita GDP. And if we did that every year and can increase the number of children that we're able to support year after year, that this the hopes are by 2032, where we were looking at that we would be able to reduce the number of children unable to attend school due to poverty or hunger in the world to zero. Right
Um,
now in Pakistan alone, we have 32 million children not in schools. Uh, it's mostly listed as poverty and hunger, but it's something we have to address multifaceted because what happens in a lot of the developing countries where perhaps they speak a lot of local dialects and then the kids get to school and that's for them a different language that they after 1 or 2 years the kids are unable to follow what's going on in school and they just give up. They say, I can't, this isn't going to help me, and they quit. So it's not just a question of poverty, but it's a question of a family making a lot of sacrifices that that kid can go to school and then the school not being able to help them learn. So we actually have a program that addresses Many levels. It addresses the preschool level. How do we deal with all those languages and the kids not being prepared when they get to school, or not equally prepared, and then the school tries to treat them all the same. And of course, the kids that enter the school system unprepared, they just fall further and further behind, and then they give up, or develop mental problems. A lot of the mental problems we see in schools are because of children whose needs to be successful in education aren't met. And so all they hear about is you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. That just creates a lot of stresses, and creates a sense of I'm not worthy. I can't do this stuff.
Could I interrupt you, Bill,
Sure.
just for 1 second? I just want to make a quick comment and then pass it along to Kurt because he had his hand
Yeah.
up earlier as well. But one of the things you said before really struck me as important was that organizations like Rotary or any of these other like NGOs, aid organizations need to have a plan to stop supporting the aid,
Um, yes.
right?
Yes.
So this is what I'm thinking in terms of this foundational infrastructure. If the funds raised by your campaign, the literacy campaign, could then be invested into community-based infrastructure for providing the foundational security, the food, energy, water, education, all the things the community needs. Yes, it could be repeated for a few years, but the eventual goal is to never need to do it again.
Mhm. Yes.
So
Yes.
you could do it for a few years, but the purpose of doing it is to raise the capital, to raise the funds that allow those communities to become self-sufficient,
Mhm.
so that maybe in 5, 8, 10 years down the road, those fundraisers are no longer required.
Mhm.
That should be the goal, right?
Yes. No, you're
So
100% right.
that's what I'm thinking in terms of if we do the campaigns, deliver the campaigns, the purpose of raising the funds is not for aid, it's for being able to invest into those communities, into the infrastructure they need so that those campaigns will not be needed
Right.
in a few years down the road.
Yeah. No, no, the you're right. And the investment here, that's why the investment in education, to enable people to have something they can trade with. That they have the knowledge or the skills
Hmm.
to offer something. And part of the challenge is, though, that the developed world, where the funds are, we need to make the funds, initially. We've got to find a way to provide the developing world with something worthy to trade, if you would, or something worthy to involve. And when we get into the AI part, it gets even stronger, because if humans labor no longer plays a role, that we and we have to go to a thing like, where the robots and the AI, that they are actually supporting the rest of the world. That has to be done in a way that all parts of the world benefit equally, and not only the countries that have the AI and the robots. But one of the things is uh, that as we get into the education, I was describing the start off, getting the preparation to be successful in education, and then becoming an independent learner, learning how to become an independent learner, so you're not dependent on having teachers, or having formal systems, and then getting into problem solving, becoming an expert problem solver, and finally into entrepreneurism. We have that. That's why I mentioned we have roughly 10 or 12 sequences of projects, some of which are intended to create awareness and concern, to promote engagement, but some of them are aimed at providing capacity of providing people with the personal tools, to be able to offer something, to be able to do something. So we are trying to cover all those bases. But back to Kurt.
Could I
Kurt,
interrupt you once more,
oh,
Bill?
okay.
I don't know if Kurt actually did have something to say. I saw his hand up
Mhm.
Briefly, but I know Stuart also has his hand up as well.
Yeah.
So I don't know, Kurt, did you want to move, say a few words first, and then we can
Well,
get Stuart?
I'd rather have Stuart go first and I can go after him. That's fine. No problem.
Oh, you're so nice, Kurt. Um, I just wanted to point out simply that in my understanding of the human evolution and in my personal experience, there is never enough. So, yes, you can raise education to a certain level of parity, but they will want to continue to grow it. You can raise their income, their household family income, but they will want to continue to grow it. So there will always be a need, a perceived need by people in lower income countries for more help.
Yeah, I think here one of the things that's very interesting and with ChatGPT, we did a pretty deep analysis, and one of the reasons it says we haven't been making progress for most of the last few decades is because almost all efforts to close the gaps between developing and developed countries and solve other problems have been focused on the supply side. And even education, even though I'm talking about education primarily starting at the lowest levels, that we see in developing countries, there's been a big increase in the amount of students that complete universities. And what we also see is those countries have the highest unemployment rate of university graduates. Why? Because we increased the supply of people with the highest skills, but we didn't increase the GDP of the general population to be able to afford to pay for people with those skills. And so you've got this is what led the ambassador from the African Union to the U.S. to say, "Hey, there are more doctors practicing in New York from Ghana than there are in Ghana, practicing in Ghana." So yes, this is we. The conclusion is we have to work on the demand side, i.e., the purchasing power side. If there's no shortage of food in the world, there's only a shortage of people able to pay for food. So if we can solve the problem that everybody's got the means to pay for food, somebody will come along and make sure that that they have the food to sell.
Okay, let's
So
make it happen then.
yeah. So that, but it's a sequence of things, and we have to start off. If we don't have the engagement, even the engagement of young people in schools, if we don't start there and we don't get that engagement, we're not going to solve the other problems. But
Mhm.
Kurt, now your turn.
Well, real quickly, I so agree with Stuart because that's why we get character education included as part of it. It's like without character, we have no kind of a world that we want to live in. Look at what's happened now. And when we include it in any kind of reading, and it's free,
Mhm.
I can put in right now, there it is, free lessons, little learning sheets. They're very short and they refer to bigger books and so on and stories that they came from. So the people want to be able to even read more, but they're enjoying the reading and getting something out of it, unlike what is usually in education.
Yeah. No,
And
it's a
I put
very
in other things in the chat. Another challenge, this idea about having a poster.
Mhm.
When we have a poster that depicts either a quote or whatever it is for a person's vision of peace, then we can have people attracted to making more and more peace because when we write our vision of peace down, it's more likely to happen.
Mhm.
And there's so much research about that that we don't have to talk
Yeah.
about it now.
Yeah. So
That's interesting, Kurt, because I was just about to say how important it is and how you likely understand how essential it is to declare the intention and make it very visible.
mhm.
It's
Yes.
extremely important
Yeah.
what you've said,
Yeah.
which is
The,
why I'm saying what I'm saying to Bill
yeah.
Mhm.
to
Well,
say,
there's an incredible
let's
book
make it
called The
happen.
Power of Intention. There's
Mhm.
there's actually, I think, two books by two different people, and they're both quality books. I think one was by Wayne Dyer. And
Mhm.
then the other one is oh God, uh, it starts with a T. Anyway, doesn't matter what the
Yeah.
other
One
person's name is.
one thing here that was important as we were analyzing and how to go on this, and there was a lot of suggestions, Declaration of Human Rights or other things like this that should be the reading material. Encourage people to read those kinds of materials. And one of the conclusions are any type of a restriction as to what to read or
Oh, no restriction.
right.
Not at all.
But
It's
make
not
it
saying
available.
any
Make
restriction. Yes.
encourage the distribution of reading materials because there's a I don't know if I have his book really handy. There's a former executive for Microsoft, and he started he was taking a hike in the Himalayas, and he visited the villages that he went through. He noticed that in the schools they had no books, and then he
Yes.
noticed that in one school there was one book, and it was behind glass, so no child was able to touch that book because that book was so valuable in their eyes that, to be able to have a book. And it was just something that some hiker had left behind. So he started a foundation called Room to Read. And they have been providing books to schools and building school libraries and even community libraries in a lot of developing countries around the world. And there's another one that was started by a Bain consultant executive called Pencils for Progress. And so these are organizations aimed at providing reading materials as widely as possible around the world. So there's and the UN could be encouraged to publish materials, reading materials, so that if we can get the schools and the kids saying we want to read, that will provide the impetus for a lot of people to say, let's give them something to read. So that's sort of the thinking there. Anyway, we need to segue back over to the things we had on the agenda for today. And we want to look here at AI, especially some of the AI stuff recently that is going to impact education. But I just want,
Could I one more
yeah,
time just Bill before we go on? I'd like
sure.
to hear some words from Madam Fatima Jibrila, uh, just to see if she could introduce herself, because I thought she's affiliated also with I believe it's the Scouts.
Yes.
So
Mademoiselle Fachima, can you introduce yourself, please?
Hello, Bill. I'm Fatima Jibrilla from Niger, Nigerian Association of Environmental Scouts. We teach students at the school environmental education. We have eco schools in our country.
Uh-huh.
We teach them climate change, desertification, because our country is desert with three under under five, under four.
Yes. How did you hear about our session here? Did I meet you this past weekend?
Now if you will give me a train, not a train or bus, I can come. Now I have I am in near Harrisburg because I come for a conference. I told you that I will be here for high level political forums.
Okay, okay,
Yeah,
gotcha. Yeah,
but I
because
want to
we
go back
we
to my
had a
country.
significant from Niger. I've
Mhm.
actually met with some of the people from your embassy here, and so no, this is great. We actually were talking this past weekend about kicking a project off in Niger. So,
well, what I was thinking, Bill, was I'd like to connect with her as well because I know that um, the founder of the Indigenous Unity Flag Foundation has been working with the Scouts Canada, as well as Scouts Europe. So I think it's could be a potential that we can
Mhm.
work with the Scouts organizations
Yeah,
along with Rotary. So
yeah,
then that we would connect with the
yeah.
organizations that's already working with young people
Lloyd,
around the
there's
world.
a couple of things here. We actually that meeting that took
I,
place.
I write my address, my email, my phone number, WhatsApp phone number in the chat.
Yes,
Okay.
please. I ask everybody, if you could just put your contact information in the chat and where you're located. That would be helpful. Lloyd, the person that actually went and presented to the ministers of education in South Asia is the head, or he was at the time, the worldwide head of the Muslim Scouts.
Perfect.
So he actually is a Rotarian, and I think he just relocated. He used to be located fairly close to me here. But there's also another group. You remember the We Movement, which was based in Toronto.
Hmm.
That was Craig Kielberger.
Yes.
And I've noticed he has a new organization called Legacy, which is intended to promote movements. Right now, I'm trying to get in touch with him. He's now based in New York, and to see, because he grew that organization to over 3 million members in a very short time. Youth members, 3 million youth members around the world.
Hmm.
There's a lot of these different things that we're working on that we don't always bring up in these meetings here.
Yeah, it's good to be aware of these other networks that are out
Yeah.
there that we could potentially collaborate with.
Exactly, exactly. And there's also the Association of Mayors. There's a
Mhm.
International Association of Mayors. I think they have about 20,000 members, that are mayors of communities.
Mhm.
That At least the representative that I talked to felt they would be very interested in participating in a project like I was discussing on literacy. Anyway,
Mhm.
I do want to get back to artificial intelligence, but I want to bring up that we were looking at this from the perspective of education. And uh, uh, when we do that, we're looking at how do we close the preparation gap for children to be able to enter the school system on an equal footing, because we know if a student enters the education system up to 2 years behind, which is what the typical thing is for working and welfare class families, at least here in the United States. And I know for Dietmar, for you, you probably saw a year ago, May, the news headlines across Germany is one out of every four fourth graders in Germany is not an effective reader. And I know that was hit the press really big time in Germany at that time. So we have that one area there, is how do we help prepare kids to be at an equal footing in at grade level. Then we have a program to say, for those kids who have reached first grade, second grade, and they're not effective readers, we have that program that came out of one of our members from India that has grown in 4 years from 20 schools participating to over 35,000 schools, over 360,000 students. But we want to grow that here into more than 1 million. And this is a project. I talked to people from Guyana, and because we have a project that just a pilot that was just completed in Ghana that tripled the effectiveness of reading. We're able to take 5 and 6 year olds that are totally illiterate and have them able to read newspapers in as little as 45 days. The pilot in Ghana, because we had absenteeism issues and things like that, that was a little higher than we have in other places. It took 55 days, but still 55 days from going from illiteracy to reading newspapers. Hey, at an hour a day, it's not like you're spending 45 days all day long, an
That's
hour a
amazing.
day in 45 days. So, and we just are looking to kick off in several parts of the United States pilots to demonstrate that capability that we can accomplish that kind of result. So that's then the first and second grade, getting people to be able to compete. So we don't get this sense that when you're in fourth grade, if you come out of a certain class or you don't have the background for reading, that all you've heard is you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong, and you have that feeling that you just are incapable of learning and you give up. So then we've got the next project, which is close the education gap, targeting fourth graders, and that is the goal is we sometimes call it ready for fifth. The goal is to get every child going into fifth grade to be 100% grade level ready. Because if you go out and do an experiment, if you go to a wealthy community like where I live, and you go and talk to a seventh grade math teacher and you say, would you pledge to get 100% of your students to be at 100% grade level by the end of the year? They say, what do you mean? It's what I do. Yeah, our schools, our high school, we have 94% of our high school graduates go on to 4-year institutions. Okay. But if I go into the capital of New Jersey, Trenton, and I raise the same question, that teacher, that seventh grade teacher, there's going to say, are you crazy? Yeah, that teacher in that wealthy community can say that because 90% of their kids start the school year grade level ready. But 90% of my students start the school year 2, 3, 4 years behind. It's unfair that you even ask me to be measured by the same standard as teachers who start off in a very different situation. So we ask, well, if we could guarantee that all the students coming into your class will be grade level ready, would you then pledge? No problem. We'll do it. So we only have to get 1 year at grade level to bring all students up to that standard. And the teachers are basically telling us, hey, you give me the students who are grade level ready, and I'll succeed in getting them to the next level. So that's what the Close the Education Gap is about. And it's using technology, but not very complicated technology. But you're going to hear in a little while about some tools that are actually going to make that much easier to accomplish. Then, when we get into the higher grades, the high school, we're getting into how do we encourage part of the fourth grade solution is in helping young people become independent learners. Basically, here and if you're a teacher, please don't take this the wrong way, but we basically want to stop teaching because we need to get everybody to become an independent learner. The goal that the United Nations, the conference they had a couple of years ago, was all about that we've got to transform education so that everybody is prepared to be a successful lifelong learner. And to be a successful lifelong learner, you have to first be a successful independent learner. So the goal here, and the teachers' colleges know this, the teachers' colleges have been teaching teachers, new teachers for decades to be the guide at the side and not the sage on the stage, to stop teaching and become the coach mentor to encourage students to learn how to learn and be confident in their ability to learn. So that's taken care of in the fourth and fifth grades. So then in the higher grades, it's all about how do we help people become successful problem solvers, especially for complex problem solvers? How do we get them to dare? How do we get them to be confident in their ability to tackle any problem that they might encounter in their lives? And that continues on through high school and college, and we have several programs there. And this is an area here where AI is going to make such a humongous difference in what those young people can do. And we've done some experiments where we've been able to see that even from age 10, we can have students doing PhD level work. There's no reason why the average 10-year-old cannot become a world expert in some subject and write a book on it in less than 6 months and using the tools that are out there. And that, of course, just imagine what that does for the confidence of a young person to have that kind of knowledge about something or to have achieved something such as writing a book or develop a podcast series explaining about quantum physics or something like that at age 10.
Uh, Again, could I interrupt, Bill? I saw Sieta Farah, I believe, had her hand up for a while. I'm not sure
Who is that?
if she wanted to say something. Sieta Farah.
Oh,
I saw she had her hand up
oh,
for
I'm
a
sorry.
while, but
Yes, Lloyd, thank you for keeping your eye out for those things. Sieta, did you want to say something?
maybe ask her to unmute.
Yes.
Yes, I want to say something. How are you all global citizens? I want to ask about what do you think about less developed countries like Bangladesh, South Asian countries, and I think we are creating so much gap between developed countries youth and less developed countries youth. How you will tackle this situation? I think sustainable development goals will be beneficial for us, or socioeconomic development is necessary for us. If I think last time I shared some views, my views with all of you regarding career counseling and socioeconomic development. The thing is that we need psychology. We have to understand psychology, child psychology. Before AI, we have to focus on emotion intelligence for mental health of students and emotional health of students, like college and career guidance and counseling programs aim to help students make more informed and better educational and career choices. We have to understand their emotional inner feelings, what they want to learn, what they want to achieve, rather than just sitting here and discussing etc etc. So do you think that green psychology or eco schools and green school we will have to focus on it? Because I'm a climate change climate champion of UNCC, and I'm associated with climate school in Pakistan, and I'm working with United Nations System Staff College as a sustainable learner. So kids are my passion. I am deeply in love with kids. I'm running a show for kids and teenagers at a platform of Digital Pakistan. So I think we all need to understand their psychology. They, what do you think? You are not lacking, or you are fulfilling all requirements of a kid?
Yes, I think here the things you're bringing up are
They are
important.
they are getting closer with eco schools and green schools day by day as we are discussing climate change. So they are involving AI and data analysis all in climate change, and they want to learn climate change with AI.
Yes, no, that's perfectly fine here for those students that can do that. One of the things when we look at the big picture internationally, and we look at how do we close the gaps between developing and developed countries, one of the things that we are observing, and I have several reports that were done in the last week with various AI tools, and that is that the world is changing. So a lot of the things that we are pursuing are going to be obsolete before they get to make a difference. So we had 3 weeks ago in Sevilla, Spain, we had the Financing for Development Conference of the UN, talking about how do we promote development based on the idea of the Millennium Development Goals, which were from 2000 to 2015, and now the Sustainable Development Goals, which go from 2015 to 2030. But both of those are based around the word development. And the idea is that if we can promote development to the developing countries, that will create jobs, and jobs create income, and that's how we address poverty and inequality. The problem is the model is they call it the great decoupling that's starting to take place, and that is that within a few years, the odds are there's not going to be any jobs for humans at all. Okay, now for some of you, you may disagree with me on that. You may say, no way, the machines can't do everything. Machines don't feel, they can't have empathy. Guess what? The studies coming out of Japan show that empathy, whether the machine has empathy or not, doesn't make any difference because empathy only accounts to the person who's receiving the empathy. And if it's a simulated empathy or a real empathy, they don't care. Plus the fact that humans run the whole range of people who are very empathetic and people who have very little empathy. And so when we look here across the board and look at the average, so the AI on emotional intelligence, on empathy, on creativeness, on critical thinking, on problem solving, has surpassed the average human pretty much across the board. Within a couple of years, that's just going to become very extreme. So we have in November coming up, the United Nations has the conference. It's called the World Social Summit 2025. That's coming up, and the cornerstone to that is jobs, well-paying jobs for everybody around the world. And they're pursuing this without paying attention to the fact that the trend around the whole world is to eliminate jobs for humans. And
But it's not the
we've got to
inevitability.
take those things into consideration to say what, because the people who are pushing that are saying, oh, that'll, if we can get rid of all the jobs, we can fire all the humans, that'll give us paradise on earth because
Except they're
people
wrong.
will not have to work to survive. The survival will be guaranteed through a universal basic income, through whatever, through the robots and the AI providing everything every human needs. And that will allow the humans to concentrate on the things they're passionate about. So if you're passionate about art, if you're passionate about music, if you're passionate about helping people with disabilities, whatever it is, you'll be able to pursue your passion because you're not going to be dependent on that for your livelihood. Right now, if you love music, but you're not that good in music and you're not good enough to be able to earn a living at it, you can't do the music because you got to focus on earning a living to survive. But if your survival is guaranteed and taken care of, now you're free to focus and say, I'm going to focus on my music and maybe I'll get better at it. And maybe I'll be able to get a couple of little bit of extra that people will pay me a little bit of something for it, but I'm not dependent on it. And so this is something that's happening. But if we don't consider that, and right now, there's nothing that I can see, or most people that I speak to can see, that's going to stop the development of AI and robots taking over the world. That we need to figure out, have a contingency plan of how we're going to peacefully transition into a world where that is the economic model is not dependent on compensated human labor. So that's we got to
We
take
need to
that in
rethink
consideration
that.
because the consequences of that, if we don't have a contingency plan, could be so severe. In fact, one AI model came out and said the answer is just kill 90% of the humans and the world will be a better place. So, that's not where we want to go to. So, Joan, you've had your hand up, please.
Yes, I've been listening quite intently. Hi, everyone. So one of the things for children that has to be in the model, I mean, everything is valid, but and teaching people how to read is fantastic. So no issues on there. But I think that it's very important for children to see some the aspiration of where they could be. So a lot of times we teach people, oh, here you can be great, you can be this and that, but they see no representation. And I used to think that that actually didn't matter, but I did a lot of work with in Canada they call them at-risk youth, which was a 5-year project that I actually project managed for the government of Canada. And the one of the youth said to me, and most of them were non-whites, but it was a mixture. One of them said to me, I said, you know how sometimes you see that there's something that someone wants or a kid wants, and I was sitting down with him and I said, what brings you here? Why are you here? And he says, well, he was charged with breaking an entry, and he was hungry. So he didn't want to break into a house, but he knew there was food in the house. And I said, wow. And so here he is with all these at-risk kids who were doing other things. And I was like, wow. But he said to me, he said, all my life I went to school in Toronto and I never saw someone like me. So why would I aspire to be anything? Because there's no jobs for me. There's nothing for me. And I talk about that hopelessness all the time, that we the do-gooders, as I call them, go in and say, this is what the world needs, but hesitate to look at what the impact of the future will be if you don't give that person that avenue to succeed.
Mhm.
That's what I have to say.
And that's why I pointed out the whole concept of what we're looking with education is about confidence building, about helping young people say, I can do anything, and giving them figuring out how we're going to make the world be fair enough that it allows them to do that. When we go and take a look right now at the consolidation, what did I just hear on Apple? 5 years in a row, all the profits went into buying back their own stock, which what does that do? That just concentrates the wealth under a smaller and smaller and smaller number of people there. And these are the models which right now rule the world. It gets into the concept of supply and demand. So unless you think you've got a plan that's going to end capitalism and free market economies,
War.
right? So and so we have to figure out how we enable people to have the confidence that, especially when there's no jobs, that they're saying, I'm okay with that because, hey, I have a passion. Right now, so many people, if all they've heard is you're wrong, you can't, they don't have a passion because they don't believe they can do anything. So one of the things that we are looking to do is if we can get that child going into fifth grade to say, I'm a math whiz, I'm tops in all the subjects I'm learning. Right now, I think the big thing is what we are teaching in the schools is a waste of time for the most part. But the thing about it is that's the yardstick. So whatever the yardstick is right now, we have to get young people to say, I'm capable, I'm able, and be confident in that. And that's why our Close the Education Gap is aimed at the independent learning, which is aimed at getting them to feel they can. Not the teacher said, "Oh, put a 4 on the blackboard." Hey, great, you put a 4 on the blackboard. No, you figure out how you need to do the answer, so you're confident in your ability, not what a teacher told you. So
No, Bill, I just want to say one other thing too. Again, nothing against the reading. I'm bought in 100%. But when people start to elevate their learnings, sometimes that ends, and a lot of learning is about values, and it's mostly about the West's values. Like you do a firm handshake, you're a good person. Like, okay, sure. But you have to learn that as a non-white that's what's expected, but it's nonsense, to be honest. Handshaking doesn't make you a person. But that's what you do because it's what's expected. But when children start to learn um, and learning the values of the West, and their families have other values, not in conflict, but family oriented and helping out. And I'll give one quick story to illustrate what I'm talking about. I remember a friend of mine that was from Africa, and I forgot what country because I have lots of friends in Africa. And she said that she had read that a bunch of white women wanted to help her village because they felt sorry for her because she was helping her brothers and sisters, looking after them, helping her parents. And they thought that, oh, she should be studying. And she said, how invalidating it was for me because I want to help my parents. We're a family. They have no right to tell me that my values for helping my family. Yes, of course, she has to go to school, but she was doing it after school. And they didn't see that. And she felt like, okay, her value was to help her family as well. So as long as we don't displace those sorts of family things and traditions and and bring the family in as well.
Mhm.
I mean, I know that's hard, but everything is hard when you're trying to make a
Yeah,
change.
yeah.
So anyway, I just want to say that.
No, it's very interesting because one of the studies that we've been doing with artificial intelligence is about the breakdown of social cohesion in communities and in families. And I think back to my mother when she grew up, there were 11. She was in high school together with 11 cousins because they all lived within 3 or 4 blocks of one another in Brooklyn. And but my mother's generation, as they grew up, we ended up here. Her sister was in Albany, New York, in the north. My parents were ended up in Portland, Maine, and my mother's brother ended up in Pittsburgh area. And the rest of the family was the entire next generation was only one of those 11 cousins that remained in the area where their family was from. And now actually a very famous book called Bowling Alone by Robert Putnam from Harvard that it goes and explores exactly what was taking place there. What happened was when college became a thing, and the majority of high school students that were doing well went to college. When you go to college, you're usually not in your local community. You're usually away from your local community, and then you get recruited in college for whatever subject you're studying or whatever you learned and you go away. So there's a Rotary Club in the town next to me. And it's very interesting that in that club, almost all the members of the club grew up in that town. They know each other. They went to the same school, maybe not in the same year, but they know the high school because they went to the same high school. But it's interesting because at the beginning of every meeting, every Rotarian says a little bit about what's going on in their life. And almost all of them refer to their children. And none of them, almost none of them, do their children live even in the same state. So because they went away to college and then they got a job, so they're scattered all over the US. And this is something that we went and did a statistical analysis based on the remoteness of communities. Like if you get into certain areas of Pennsylvania, Ohio, and compare that to, let's say, areas that are in metro areas around major cities, you see the total difference between the percentage of adults who grow up in the community they live in and the percentage that where almost nobody grew up in that community. Almost everybody living there didn't grow up. And that's what leads to the social cohesion factor on that. And this is something here that I noticed when I was living in Germany, a huge difference. Because if we look in schools in the United States, if you want to do music, you play band in the school in high school. You want to do sports, you do sports in high school. In Germany, mostly you have your music clubs is a community based. Your sports clubs are community based. My son was playing handball in the community, not in the school here, and so that it brings him together with residents of the community of all ages and makes them feel they're part of the community. But here in the US, because that's in school, you leave school, it all is cut off, and you've now moved someplace else. And you see here that in the US, most kids who participate in music and band and schools or sports, that stops when they leave school. They're no longer involved in those things at all. So yes, there's a whole bunch of things like this, but we have to get to where we're going to be able to worry about that. And if people are worried about their survival, if they're worried about if they're going to have incomes, you are not going to get people to worry. People will think more about how I can steal from my neighbor than how I can help my neighbor if you put them in a survival mode. And so we've got to make sure that we use our institutions to see that we have an orderly process into something where people don't get that desperate because we allowed those that are unfortunate enough to be laid off the earliest to go into that desperation. We've all heard about the deaths of despair coming from the Rust Belt in the United States, where jobs have declined, and we now see white males. One of the biggest causes of death is suicide. So but the problem is we know it's there, but do we do anything about it? No, because we don't plan. Our governing bodies tend to be reactive and not proactive. But that's why we've got to go and make people aware of what is likely to come. Don't wait until the hurricane is coming down on you and the flood's there. You got to take precautionary measures to make sure that you're prepared. As the saying goes, hope for the best, but prepare for the worst. And so this is why we have to look. Now, we're going to be talking here. We're more than halfway into this meeting, and we haven't gotten to our topic because and we want to talk about the positives, and we always want to talk about, hey, where's all this leading us? Where, we can show people how to take advantage of the AI and things like this. And we can show this is going to improve education and this is going to improve people's productivity. But it's the productivity improvement that is going to put the world at risk. Because if one person can now do the work that used to take 10 people, then we maybe aren't going to need those other 9 people. And so what are we going to do with them? So, but I want to now jump back into the tools that we were talking about. And the first is we had several meetings back a month or so ago about the preparation for preschool, and we said, the if we could just get all parents just to read to their kids, this would make such a huge difference. But again, it goes back to, can those parents read the language that's taught in the schools? Can they read at all? And what about the ones who can't because they're holding down their single parent household and they're holding down 3 jobs so that they can provide food and shelter for their kids? So here's an area where we described how AI could play a major role. Inexpensive AI, put it in a daycare, put it on a wall. It has the ability to see everything going on in the room, to hear everything going on in the room. It has the ability to be a assistant to whoever's the responsible caregiver there, to say, "Hey, Johnny, get off that chair. You're going to fall and hurt yourself," or be able to say, "Don't hit your neighbor there. That's not nice." But also to be able to go and read to the kids and say, "Oh, hey, Johnny, why do you think he picked up that object in the story?" Or what do you think about what do you think is going to happen next in the story? So it can be engaging. Well, you may not have heard about 2 weeks ago, Elon Musk came out and announced uh, Grok, what was it? Grok baby Grok. Okay, so his plan is to have a AI made especially for children that will read to the children, interact with the children, and could be teaching the children those values that Kurt has been talking about, so that we can help those children. By the time they get to kindergarten, first grade, they're equally prepared because they've had somebody that's interacting with them the whole time through their growing up from age 2, 3, 4, whatever, prior to attending school. So he's already announced that's coming, Baby Grok. But I can almost guarantee you, if he's doing it, they're all working on something along those lines. And we were playing a little bit ourselves with prompts to be able to have the AI work that way to deal with the children there. Then we have here just the other day or last week, ChatGPT introduced study mode. So I don't know if you have seen that, but when I'm going to share my screen here. Okay. So this is just a 2 minute. Is this the one that? Okay, this one's a 7 minute, but I think this does a good job. Can everybody see my screen? Okay, let me speak up if you're not able to hear this.
Study mode, and it might be the single biggest upgrade to education since the calculator. Forget just asking for answers. This feature actually teaches you step by step. What I'm going to show you in the next 10 minutes will blow your mind.
7 minutes.
Stick around because the last feature feels like having Einstein on your side. So on 29th of July 2025, ChatGPT just dropped this bomb that's called study mode. And this is not just a button, it's an entirely new way to learn. Instead of just spitting out answers, ChatGPT will now ask you the questions. It will then find out what is your personal skill level, and it will walk you through the topic just like a personal tutor. Ask it about Bayes' theorem, and instead of just dumping math on your screen, it will first ask you, what is your math background? Then it will adapt the explanation to fit you. But that's just the beginning. Wait till you see how it handles your math homework. Okay, so for feature number 1, we have interactive tutoring. This mode was built with teachers and scientists, so it's not just AI, it's AI with a teaching strategy. Study mode uses what is called Socratic mode, meaning that it teaches you by asking, not by telling. So instead of saying, here's the answer, we'll ask you, why do you think this works? That friction is where real learning happens. If you've ever crammed for an exam and you forget everything the next day, this is the fix. All right, let me give you a glimpse. All you have to do is just click on Try in ChatGPT, and you're going to find this book here that says Study. Let's just take an example. Explain the theory of relativity. All right, so it starts by asking me, how familiar are you with physics so far? I don't know anything about physics. I don't know anything about it. All right, so it knows that I don't know anything about physics, so it's taking me from point zero. It's taking me from the beginning. So it tells me what relativity means. Then it tells me why Newton wasn't enough. And then some key ideas of special relativity. And then it asks me a question, which is in form of a quick check. Does it make sense so far that relativity connects space, time, and motion, and that it changes our everyday idea of time being the same everywhere? Yes, that makes sense. Okay, now let's make it more concrete with an example. You see how weird and cool relativity really is. And it gives me this example. I remember that my father gave me this example when I was like 12 years old, and it was absolutely mind-blowing to me. It then asked me, would you like me to give you a visual way to picture space-time bending? Visual way. And then it explains it in a visual way. Now, next up, we have image learning. You can now upload your worksheets, lecture slides, or even a photo of a textbook problem, and study mode will break it down piece by piece. So next up, let's try to upload it a math quiz. Tell me the answers and help me understand. All right, and then it's taking the first question. Notice how it didn't move to second question until I understand why did he give this answer to the first question. And then another thing, it doesn't just give me the final answer. It's hinting me and it's asking me which one matches this. Do you want to try picking it yourself? Let's go even deeper. I don't understand. No problem. Let's slow it down and let me tell you this step by step. All right, so the final answer is C. Would you like me to walk you through question number 2 in the same clear step-by-step way? Let's do it. And as you can see right here, study mode will give us everything step by step and why and how more specifically to get to that answer. Again, the solution is option D. And it's going to do the same with all of the points from our quiz. Now, my question is, where do you think quizzes are heading into the next, I would say 12 months. I wouldn't give it more than that. Feature number 3, multi-subject mastery. Study mode works very well across everything. History, literature, coding, mathematics, physics, biology, even languages. Ask it about Shakespeare, and it will not only explain Hamlet, it will quiz you like a teacher who actually wants you to understand. Let me show you what I mean. As you're already accustomed, before we dive in, can I ask you what you already know about Shakespeare? This is what a good teacher would do. All right, so he's telling me who he was, how many plays that he wrote, how many sonnets, how many poems, why he's important, and what are his famous works. So he gave me a full piece of text about Shakespeare and his life. And if I want to learn anything more about Shakespeare, I just need to give it the right direction and it will teach me. The same with coders. It can debug your code and it can actually explain it to you so you will understand where the bug came from. This is like replacing Google search with an actual professor. Feature number 4, it has adapting learning levels. When you start a session, study mode will not assume anything. It will start asking you, are you a beginner, intermediate, or advanced? What is your level? And then it will ask you, what is your goal? This means that someone who's in the first grade and wants to learn about calculus and a PhD student learning about quantum physics, they will both get their lessons tailored to them. And here's the nice thing about it. If it notices that you're struggling, it will slow down and reteach the concept until you understand it. And to be honest, that's something that even human tutors struggle to do. Now, here's the part that students are going to lose their mind over. Feature number 5, it is built for academic integrity. Teachers have been terrified of AI since its inception, fearing that students could cheat with it. But study mode was actually built to stop that. Instead of just handing you over the results or a finished essay, it will guide you step by step through the process. OpenAI actually worked with educators and professors just to make sure that this tool will not replace learning. It will actually enforce it. I think that this is the tool that will finally make schools and AI work together instead of fighting. But if you thought that this was big, wait until you hear who's getting this feature for free. That's right, study mode is not locked behind a paywall. So whenever you're on a free plan, Plus, or even GPT Team, it's gonna be there and it's gonna be free. Imagine every student out there having a 24/7 tutor by their side completely for free. Google Gemini and Anthropic's Claude are racing to catch up, but right now I would say OpenAI is miles ahead. And there's one thing that nobody has even talked about yet, and that is the fact that according to its makers, study mode is just in phase 1. And right now they are working on study groups, when AI could actually tutor multiple students at once, personal learning analytics, and these will track your progress just like a fitness app does. And finally, voice-based tutoring. So you can actually talk to a tutor just like you would do in real life. This is where education is heading. And if you're not using AI to get there, I'm sorry to say, but you are already behind. So how do you start using it today? That is easier than you think. To try it out, all you have to do is navigate to ChatGPT. Once you have it open, click on Tools right here. By the way, you're going to see the new agent here. We just made a video about it. Go and check it out. And right down at the bottom, we have Study and Learn. Once you see this blue book activated, you are in study mode. Click it, pick your subject, answer a few quick questions about your level, and boom, you're learning faster than ever before. No more Googling or going on Reddit, on random subreddits or forums. This right here is the future of study. And now the million-dollar question, what does this mean to you? ChatGPT Study is the end of learning the old way. So if you want to stay ahead of the curve, try it, master it, and share it with someone who's still stuck in 1999 with textbooks. Please like this video if you learned something new. It would greatly help us with the YouTube algorithm. Subscribe to our channel if you want to get more AI updates. Make sure to visit.
Awesome.
Okay, so now one of the things that one didn't show, let me see if I have the other one ready here.
Our website, there's an AIforthat.com, link in the description. It's the biggest place for AI tools in the world.
Hold on a minute.
40,000 AI tools. And while you're at it, subscribe to our new.
Hold on. No, I don't have that one here. This is a 2-minute newscast on this announcement.
It's called Study Mode, the newest tool from OpenAI, the company behind ChatGPT, the artificial intelligence chatbot that since bursting onto the scene in November 2022,
AI has made cheating incredibly easy. It's a cheater's dream.
Has frustrated college professors like Duke University's Oren Starn. How much has AI impacted your classroom?
It's had a huge impact. What I've been starting to see is more and more students handing in assignments that were all or partly written by AI.
But OpenAI CEO Sam Altman says higher ed needs to change.
I already think college is maybe not working great for most people.
And today, his company says Study Mode is designed to help students learn something, not just finish something. Here's how it works. If you've used ChatGPT before, you provide it with a prompt. I need a 500-word essay on Orwell's 1984. It immediately gives you the essay. Now, in this new mode, if you click on Study and Learn, ask it the same thing, it's not just going to spit the exact essay out for you. It's going to go about it more like a tutor, saying, before we jump in, can you tell me a little bit about the assignment, asking me questions to help me write it. Wall Street Journal tech columnist Joanna Stern says the choice is now in users' hands.
There's nothing stopping a student from getting the answer. That cat is out of the bag. There are so many AI tools that will provide the answer for you.
Or a learning version. OpenAI competitor Anthropic launched a similar tool to Study Mode back in April for institutions. AI, already a huge part of education. A recent Gallup poll shows 6 in 10 teachers use it as a tool for their work. And startups like the Alpha School use AI software to power core curriculum as early as kindergarten. Artificial intelligence is sort of the future, whether we like it or not. I think it's something that is already a part of our lives on a daily basis.
The issue now, how students will choose to use it.
And that's where we pick it up. Savannah Sellers joins us live in studio. So Savannah, ChatGPT is trying something new here, but the question is, will students use it?
It's exactly the question, Tom. That's right. Of course, it can be a huge help, right, to someone who really wants to learn, or as I mentioned, maybe sort of use it almost like you would a tutor. But the temptation, of course, to cut straight to the answer, by the way, from several AI tools exists out there. That professor that you saw there told me he's afraid that students simply aren't learning. Tom.
All right. Savannah Sellers for Savannah. We thank you for watching. And remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC.
Okay, so I'm going to try to show you using actually doing it myself because the video that I had there didn't show what I was wanting to show you. Um, what's that? Okay, so here in the tools area, and we see study and learn. So I clicked on study and learn. And now I'm going over here to voice mode because it said in the video, oh, they're working on that. That's coming. So let's see what happens. Hi, ChatGPT. Are you there?
Yep, I'm here. How's it going? What's on your mind?
Okay, we're in study mode now. I want to see how good my German is or if I can improve my German. Can you help me with that?
Of course, I'd be happy to help you with your German. We can do a little conversation practice, or if you have specific vocabulary or grammar
Well,
questions, we can go over that too.
excuse me,
You know,
yeah, excuse me. I'd like to start off. Could you assess where I'm at and maybe what I should focus on to improve my spoken German?
absolutely. Why don't you start by telling me a bit about your day in German, and I'll listen and see how it.
Okay, ich bin mitten in einer Konferenz, eine Zoom-Konferenz bezüglich künstlicher Intelligenz.
Klingt spannend. Du machst das schon sehr gut. Du kannst vielleicht noch hinzufügen, worum es in dieser Konferenz genau geht oder was du vielleicht daraus mitnimmst. Erzähl einfach ein bisschen weiter.
Mhm. Ähm, ja, ich kann das tun, aber ich will, dass du mir sagst, ob ich irgendwelche Sprachfehler mache, vielleicht mit Grammatik oder sowas.
Alles klar, ich achte auf deine Grammatik und gebe dir dann Feedback. Erzähl einfach weiter und ich sag dir dann, wenn mir etwas auffällt.
So I got to move this out of the way. Okay, so I just wanted to end that. So you can see here, I could have done that about algebra. I could have done that about some historical event. Actually, it probably would have been easier for most of the rest of you to understand what I was saying. But the idea here is I actually did it with fourth grade math. I went into Gemini. I said, assemble for me all the concepts that a student would have to learn to completely master fourth grade math. And it came up with about 100 different concepts that you have to learn during the year. And then I said, okay, start off. And it gave me It asked me questions about how I would solve certain problems, and then I answered some wrong, I answered some right, but it really walked me through everything I would need to know to be able to completely master fourth grade math. And if I, one of the things that's actually very valuable is you can create a project in ChatGPT, create a project, and then you can give it special instructions, and you can also upload a file. So you can upload a file that's a PDF of a chapter of your textbook. And you can then go and say, I need to master this content of this chapter of the textbook and actually have it'll guide you with leading questions through that process. So it's not going to tell you this is you memorize this, memorize this. It's going to ask you, why is this like that? Why is that like that? Kurt, yes.
Yes, I get to give a program next month for Sunrise Rotary Club in Simi Valley. They want me to speak for 20 minutes. I can actually now ask Chat GPT in the study guide area to be able to give me slides that are appropriate for this particular club's abilities and so on, because it can then research what that club has been into and so on and so forth,
Right.
and have visuals and everything else that I need on it.
Yes, well, there's different ways you can do that. You're going to be best if you go to Gemini and do a deep research and say, what can you tell me about this club in general? Now, a lot of the stuff, you're not going to be able to get that kind of detail about the background of the individuals, but you can if you can name the individual and say, tell me what you know about this person. You'd be amazed at what it can tell you. But you have to be very careful how you do that, because a lot of it will come and say, hey, that's private information, and therefore it cannot tell you that. But to be able to ask questions about a community and say, what would be most useful for this community, or where does this community stand with regards to education? What percentage of the students are at grade level or qualify for free or subsidized lunch, and different things like that. You can get that kind of information. But now the question is what tool? If you're using something like deep research, if you go to Notebook LM, you've got to provide the sources. I'm going to touch on what Notebook LM can do for you in just a minute. But you can use right now, if you just did and gathered a bunch of information, or even if you don't know the information, you say, hey, I got to give a 10-minute talk or a 20-minute talk to a Rotary Club in this town. And would you help me make a PowerPoint presentation? And I want to highlight these ideas in my PowerPoint presentation. It will develop a PowerPoint presentation for you, and then you can even then take that and say and take it over to ChatGPT and say, okay, I'm going to narrate this PowerPoint here. Can you critique my presentation? And it will tell you, it'll even tell you if you're not maintaining eye contact well, if you have the camera mode turned on. So yes, a lot of these things are coming that you can do this. But how you got to experiment. You got to experiment with different tools to accomplish the thing you're trying to do. But go to ChatGPT and ask, how do I accomplish this thing I'm trying to do?
Yeah,
That's a
I
great
was going to
idea,
say
because what
as
I
well.
hear from you actually is that there are particular AIs that have extreme specialty in one little area. If we could have a little list of that, the specialties of the different AIs,
Yeah.
then we can more easily say play with it for how it is that we need to develop our programs and whatever else we're working on.
On the basic ones, we can do that in a high level, but there are tools out there, and I can provide. I'll do a little bit of research and provide. There's some tools that have libraries of literally thousands of use cases and tools, and it will tell you what's the best combination to use for a specific task of what you're trying to
Actually,
accomplish. But
a
the
good
thing
way
that
to do it is to ask the AI
yeah,
that question, and you'll
exactly.
get the answer.
Yes. Yeah, that's one of the things that I think is really important is the idea to when you have a question and you're trying to figure out how to get AI to do something to help you, ask AI how can I get you to help me do that?
I'm starting to
I
ask AI to provide me with the prompts
Oh
for the
yeah,
questions that I should ask that will result in the best answer. So
I
it
see
rates
one
the
thing that
prompt that I want
Daniel,
to get the answer that I need.
I see that Daniel Readers has put into the chat a very specific answer to that. He did well. Read it there.
Is that the one I have had 5 AIs?
Yes.
So what I was going to say is one of the things I've been doing, for instance, is to utilize Perplexity to do deep research, and then I'll pull that answer and then plop that into ChatGPT, and then ask the question based on the
yeah.
results of the research.
I
When
did
with
that recently and sent out something. I haven't sent it yet, but I have a big challenge to people about getting onto Joe Rogan. And
Mhm.
that's one of the things that I tried to be
Yeah.
able to use is this chat GPT. How is it that I'm going to approach Joe Rogan experience with my background and so on and so forth? So there you go.
Yeah. One thing here, Perplexity is maybe one of the weaker ones for doing a deep research. Definitely, I would say the consensus out there is Gemini is by far the best for doing it. It'll give you the most comprehensive answer, if you would, uh, for any kind of a deep research. But I use ChatGPT very often to formulate the prompt that I then feed to Gemini for the deep research. Then you take the deep
Okay,
research that
good to
comes
know
out
that.
of Gemini, and with one mouse click, you can promote it, make it into a Google Doc. And then you go over to Notebook LM, you create a notebook, and you say, okay, import a Google Doc, and it will highlight, because that's the last one you uploaded. It'll highlight that most recent one. You click on it, it loads it into Notebook LM, and then you can turn around and ask for an audio overview or whatever, or a mind map. Especially to do a mind map on a deep research is something that's very good. Dietmar, you've had your hand up.
Yes, first I want to say, Bill, your German sounds really good. Dein Deutsch klingt schon sehr gut. Well done.
Danke.
But I will come back to ChatGPT and study mode. And when I understood well, I could load up, for instance, the Global Grant Handbook with all
Mhm.
the rules to do a global grant, and then ask ChatGPT study mode to guide me through this book. And this would depend on my knowledge I already have, or other Rotarians who have never heard about it. This program would guide them to understand what they should do to have a successful global grant, right?
Yeah. I think here the approach that I would probably take to that is curate the sources so that you only have valid sources into Notebook LM, and have Notebook LM provide you uh, a a structured, detailed structured document that synthesizes all of the information from the different sources. Plus, you can even go in and say, give me examples of positive outcomes, examples of negative outcomes. You can use that in the discovery mode of Notebook LM to say, go find for me successful examples, or find for me rejection examples with explanations. Then take the output of that and as a comprehensive file, take that and copy that back over into a Google Doc again, and now import that into a project in ChatGPT. Bring that into a project in ChatGPT. Now you can be just talking, go into voice mode in ChatGPT, and you can just be asking it questions in general about what do you think about this? What do you think about that? You can even say, oh, can you, it'll probably even volunteer, not in study mode now. I'm not in study mode. I'm just in regular mode in ChatGPT with ChatGPT 3.0 and say, ask it questions of, is this likely to be successful? Is that likely to be successful? Or how do I approach this? What you're going to see is ChatGPT at the end will generally make suggestions to you, saying, should I make you a draft application? Should I make you an application, draft an application that's likely to be successful? And you can say, sure, yeah, do that. But then don't go away, stay there and say, now I want you to critique the application you just made, as if you play role play that you're evaluating this global grant, and do role play on it and critique it. What are some of the problems? How can I make it better? So you can take that approach to it, or you can combine it. There's a thing called iterative prompting, where in the past, you make a prompt, you get a result, and then you say, now please take that result and do this with it. And then you get a result, and then say, please take that result and do something else with it. You can chain all those in a single prompt. And so more and more what I do is, if I do a prompt to get some information, then I say, the second part is, I want you to take the result that you just created, and I want you to do a reference check to validate all the sources that are referred to, so that it catches and eliminates any hallucinations and things like this. So if you Google iterative prompting, you'll see some good examples on that. But that's hot. So it's the whole meta. It's like Lloyd said, go to ChatGPT or go to AI and ask AI to create the prompts for you that you're going to use to get the results that you're looking for. But you can actually have it create a prompt, and then you can ask it to critique its own prompt to see whether that's likely to satisfy what you're looking for. And it's really interesting to see that. I mentioned here that for deep research, I believe Gemini is by far the better one. The way it works, if you're on a laptop, if you go and do a deep research, you get a prompt. A good prompt is usually about a page to a page and a half or 2 pages long. So this is why it's very hard to come up with a good prompt on your own. So, but if you go and you get that prompt and you hand it in and mark deep research in Gemini, it's going to come up with its plan of attack, its strategy. How does it plan to approach doing the deep research on that? And then you can edit that, and you can say, oh, you didn't include this. I want you to include that as well. Or you can say, oh, I see you're including this over there. No, that's off topic. Take that out of don't include that. So then you say, start the deep research. If you're on a laptop, on the right-hand side, it's going to show a line that usually says thinking with a little down arrow on the side. If you click on the down arrow, it's going to tell you what it's doing. And what's very interesting, it'll usually say, okay, the strategy, my first step in the strategy was I was going to look for this kind of information, and then I'm going to go and evaluate it from this perspective and from that perspective, and then I'll find the results. And then it will say, okay, now I've gone and I've looked at 30 sites for that particular step. And then it will come back and say, okay, well, I looked at the results of my 30, looking at all those, and I need to go deeper into this, or I got questions that generated questions about this and about that. And then it will say, based on that, now I'm going to do this. And it gives you a strategy for the next step. And then it'll say, okay, now I'm going to go out and look for those. And I found 12 sites on that. And here's the results of those 12 sites. And here's my conclusions. And here's what I think I have to do next. I've actually had in Gemini it go through more than 20 such iterations, and a total of almost 400 sites, and by when you added them all up. And it keeps doing that until it doesn't find anything new, or it doesn't find anything that questions anything that it has concluded so far. And that's when it stops. And then it takes all what it found and it structures it into a report. Based again, if your prompt is good, your prompt has said, I want the results to be structured in this manner or include that. So it will do all of that kind of things. So this is why
Actually,
I look to deep research here on Gemini, and unfortunately, it won't let you save all of that thinking information in one step. But for each one step that it's going through, that it says, okay, this is what I'm going to do. Here's how many websites, how many sites I went and checked. I cut and paste that and I drop it into a Google Doc, and then it's continuing. Then I grab the next set and I copy that in. So then I can get the entire thought process and all the steps it went through in doing that deep research.
one of the things that I was going to say, Bill, that I have a little bit of an irksome uh, sort of feedback in terms of Notebook LM is the prompt area only allows 2,000 characters.
Which prompt area?
For the Notebook LM.
In the chat mode, in the chat mode in the middle? Is that what you're referring to?
No, just in the regular mode when you're asking it to sort of create a report or something like that, or whatever you're asking.
Yeah, that's in the
your
chat
documents.
mode. The middle section, the
middle
left-hand
section,
section is where you say what the sources of
Yeah.
the knowledge base. The middle section's the
The
chat.
middle section.
Yeah, okay. Oh, I wasn't
So
aware
it
of
has
that
a limitation of 2,000 characters. So I did that actually a couple days back, where I had just uploaded we had a Zoom call like this, and then I took the transcript of the Zoom call that we had and the conversation we had. I put it into Notebook LM, and I asked it, could you write a prompt so I can generate a report for our members of the conversation we had? And it wrote a wonderful prompt, very detailed. But then I put its own prompt into the chat, and I said, could you generate the report? And it couldn't do it because it was more than 2,000 characters.
Yeah.
So I asked it, could you modify that prompt and reduce it to less than 2,000 characters? And it did a modification, but it was still more than 2,000 characters. It was like 2,400 characters. So it didn't even modify the prompt properly.
Yeah.
So I had to do it a third time and then do some manual tweaking so that it's still making some mistakes in terms of its own iterations.
I would have taken that prompt that it generated and take it either into ChatGPT Cursor or into Gemini Cursor and ask it
that's
there.
what I did eventually, was I took its prompt into ChatGPT
Right. Yeah.
and asked it to do the work that it wasn't doing properly for itself.
Yeah, no, that's some
But that 2,000 character limitation is actually pretty serious. They've got to work on that and get rid of that limitation.
Because I agree that limit shouldn't be there because if we think of Notebook LM as being primarily a way to curate a quality knowledge base, okay, then you should be able to do all the classical things you do vis-a-vis that knowledge base that you can do in ChatGPT or Gemini itself.
Because it was a wonderful prompt that it generated. It would have created an incredible report, very detailed.
Yeah.
But I couldn't use it.
Yeah, interesting. I'm going to give some thought to how one might be able to deal with that kind of a situation, especially in Notebook LM. And so I think here that gives me a good segue over into looking at the next item of learning, the big breakthrough here in helping people be able to learn. So I'm going to switch over. We're going to go to Notebook LM.
Yeah. So Bill, just before you go, while you're doing it, remember there's a common cluster meeting at
Yeah, I'm keeping an eye on the clock.
Okay.
I actually wanted to attend the pre-meeting, the what do they call it? The conversations with nature meeting. I like that one.
Workshop, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so okay, here we go. So let me see which one of these we're going to look at. Um, I got to get this out of the way. Okay, this that one's too long. Uh, okay, this one's a medium length. Okay, here's what this is about. Notebook LM just the other day, actually 2 days ago, I think it was. It was Thursday, uh, came up with a whole bunch of new updates. The problem is these are not, they're rolling it out. So I don't have access to be able to actually show you this, but it is so, it's so amazing here that I think this is worthy of looking at. Um, which one here? Okay, we'll try this one.
Hey everyone, Jamie here from Teachers Tech. How many times have you felt like you're trying to drink from a fire hose when you're trying to learn something new? Or even just keep up with the latest in your field? Piles of research papers, endless articles online, it can feel overwhelming, right? Today we're diving into Google's Notebook LM. It's not just another chatbot, it's a game changer for how we learn and research, made even more powerful by its latest updates. To put it to the test, we'll tackle quantum computing. I'll show you how Notebook LM breaks it down step by step. We'll explore the fantastic new features like the redesigned studio panel and the mind-blowing video overviews. Whether you're a teacher, a student, or just a curious learner, this is the tool you need to see. Let's get started. Let's get logged into Notebook LM. If you haven't been there before, I'll put a link in the description, or you can just go to notebooklm.google. I'm going to click on this, and right away, I just want to show you a new feature. And depending on what, if you're logged into an education account or personal account, this might not be here. These are featured notebooks. So what these are curated by experts. They could be authors or scientists. Though if I go ahead and click on this one, all the sources in here have been collected and curated. So if you start using Notebook LM, that's where they're going to be pulling the information from. So that's a neat feature. But like I said, in the education accounts, you might not see that. I've switched over to my education account, and you can see that there's no featured notebooks here. Let's go ahead and create a new notebook and see all the great new features. So create new, we're going to have to upload sources. Like I said, we're trying to demystify quantum computing with Notebook LM. So I need to upload some sources. I have a PDF, I have a YouTube video, I have an article from a website, and I have notes in Google Docs. Let's go ahead, hit upload. We're going to grab this PDF and open. So this gets uploaded to Notebook LM. And if you've never used this before, what it will do, the AI is reading this right now, and it's going to give a summation of this right here. I could save this summation as a note, or I could copy the summary as well. I could start using its features about adding audio overview or mind maps. I'm going to come back to it when I have more sources. Now, first of all, I don't want it to call this. I'm going to rename it. So I'm going to type in Quantum Computing 101. Little bit about navigation. If I click on this right up top here, you'll notice here is the notebook that I just created, and I can go back to it. Let's add another source. So this time I wanted to grab this YouTube video. So I'm going to go in here, Control C for copy, and I'm going to go to YouTube and just paste the link in like that. So now I have two sources. I'm going to go grab this website here, copy, bring it back over here, hit add, and then I'm going to link the website. So I paste it in. If you have multiple websites, I could hit enter and do multiple ones in here so you don't have to keep doing it again. Some websites are behind paywall, so you'll notice that it'll get an error or won't read it.
They don't believe how toxic this is. If you're still using a plastic or wooden cutting board, you need to hear this.
I'm going to hit insert. And lastly, I'm going to go back and hit add. This is coming from my Google Drive. I can go slides or docs. Here's the notes. Let's say you take some notes and I hit insert. Now I have these 4 things. The other thing you could do if you, from a website, you could copy paste text over, or if you're taking notes, if I go to add, I can go to paste text, copy, and I could paste it right in here, and that would be a source. Now that we have some information in here, we're ready to start even using more some of these new features. Here's a great feature. If you need more sources, the discover sources. So if I click on this, I can give it a topic. So let's say quantum computing. I can submit this and it's going to do searching for more articles, PDFs that I can add to my sources. So this is a great way. So you can see these are all the different sources. I can see this is a PDF. We have different websites. We have from Wikipedia, Caltech. So if I go ahead and pick, I can unselect them all with this one, or pick, maybe I want to add this one and this one here. So I'm going to import those 2. So now I've added a few more sources to it. With any of these sources, I can click on them individually to see the summary of each of these. And I can also start a chat by clicking on any of these key topics that the AI pulled from there. The other thing you can do, you'll notice that you can go and remove sources or rename them. Here's a couple key features I just want to show you in settings. If we click on settings up top, you can see there is an output language. We can choose from the long list here, so what you need to work with. And the other thing is under settings, we can also go from light mode to dark mode. So if I switch over to light mode, depending on what you would like to work on, I'm going to be working from dark mode. Now that the AI has read all the sources, I can start asking questions towards all of them. Notice down here where I start typing, it says 6 sources. If I uncheck some of these, then it's going to say 4 sources. So that's what I would be referring to. I'm going to keep them all on, and it's suggesting a question. If I kind of go over, you can see all the different questions it's kind of picking up. I could start by those ones, but I'm curious about this. What is a qubit in simple terms? If I send this off, it's going to research through all of these different sources. And what I really like about Notebook LM, how everything is cited. So I know it's going to be grounded on the resources that I've curated. So here it is in the simple terms. It's a basic unit of quantum information. If I hover over the 1, it shows me the information where it was coming from. If I click on number 1, it will actually bring me to where it was in there. So I can go ahead a little bit. I can open this in a new tab. I can close this down to bring it back. Let's try another question. So let's try this one. So explain the concept of superposition based on my sources. So here we go. We have this information just like before, but what I'm thinking, this sounds a little bit too complicated. So I'm going to go and want to know, explain it to me like I'm 10. Notice now how the language has changed. And this is something important to note to tell AI is how do you want it to be told to you? I like it. All of a sudden it has analogies in here to make things simpler and more connections to it. The other thing I want to point out is right here, configure notebook. If you go to that, you can define your conversational style. You can see the different ones you can pick and the length of the responses. I'm just leaving mine at default. If you want to save the information you get, make sure you turn it into a note. So just click on save to note and you'll see that it generates it over here. Where I can click on it, we have this information. The other good thing is we can convert this to a source. So if I click convert to source, it adds it over here. And then this is a part that it's going to be pulled from. Remember what I said before, we can remove sources and we can delete these notes as well. And then we'll be back to empty. Let's move on now. So this is where the magic happens. And you can see kind of how they've updated the look of this studio with this nice clean look. And
this is something that
new.
most of you can't see right now. This is what's coming first to the US.
Video. So I'm excited to show you that. Audio overview. I just find the quality is getting better in the podcast. It doesn't sound as much AI as it used to. We have our mind map and our reports. So first of all, let's take a look at the reports. We can quickly turn all this information into these quick ones here. So if we wanted a study guide from here, all I have to do is click on it. It's going to be going through the 6 sources here, and it's going to create me that study guide. So here we have our study guide. I want to point out here too, we can convert this to source. So it would put it over here if I wanted it. If I click on it and open it, you can see we have this study guide. It's taken from the information here. As I go through, it's put into a nice way to consume. So that's a quick way if you want to learn something to pull from your sources, you can do that. Remember, you can close the view and it goes back. The mind map here is another way to dig down deeper. And this really allows people, maybe you see things, want to see things a little bit differently. A mind map will allow you to dig down, and I'll show you how this branches out. Here's our mind map. Let's go ahead and open this up. Now you can see as I expand it, it breaks down all the concepts. And so I can go through, and if you're a visual learner that likes to break down the learning, you can see these step by step. You can zoom out on your mind map to see the different connections here. You can even download this. So if I click download, this will download it as a PNG file. If I click and open this up, I'll bring this over. So now I have this right here as a PNG file that I have. Remember, you can close it down here. Everything's here still. We can delete it if we don't want it. All right, now the audio overview. Remember, with any of these, I don't have to have all these checked. If I want to have less sources, I can go ahead and do this. With the audio overview, you can customize this. I like now that you can go shorter or longer. So if I make it shorter, is there something I want them to focus on? You can see the different examples. I'm just going to hit generate for a shorter one, and we'll go through and do a little preview of this. We have our audio file all finished here. Let's give it a little test. This is interactive mode. I'm going to come back to this in a moment. Let's just hit play.
Okay, let's unpack this. You know
Sounds
how
nice
sometimes
and natural.
big sort of buzzy terms like quantum information.
They didn't say
science,
deep dive or
you wonder
anything
what
yet.
they really
That's
mean
great.
for us beyond just being cutting edge tech.
Let's
Actually,
pull
what the most
forward.
important bits, what QIC actually is, why it's apparently so vital. And yes, some of the truly mind-bending.
It's sounding really good. You can change the speed too. So if I go to this and want it a little faster,
stuff it promises, we want you to walk away with a solid grasp of its potential impact.
and you can adjust to what makes it good for you. The other thing I want to point out, you can download this as a file, and you can even share from here. So if I click share, you can just add the people that you want here, get them notified, and you can see that if you want to have access to the full notebook as well. Let's jump back. I'm going to close this. I want to test out the interactive mode. I'm just going to press on this. So as soon as I hit play, then I can listen to it. If I have a question, I can go ahead and ask it.
If it were possible to discover in advance which stocks were set to go up and which were poised to crash, would you want
to? Okay, let's unpack this. You know how sometimes you hear these big sort of buzzy terms. Oh, hey there.
Okay, hold on. I'm at 2. Let me stop that share.
Buzzy term. Oh, hey there. How can we help?
Hey, I'm just wondering, what's the simplest way you could explain quantum computing to me? I'm really having troubles understanding.
That is an excellent question. It's totally understandable.
Yeah, it's one of those things that sounds super complex.
Absolutely. The simplest way to think about it is this.
Imagine your regular computer, right?
Question, I can go ahead and ask it.
Okay, let's unpack this. You know how sometimes you hear these big sort of buzzy terms. Oh, hey there. How can we help?
Hey, I'm just wondering, what's the simplest way you could explain quantum computing to me? I'm really having troubles understanding.
That is an excellent question. It's totally understandable.
Yeah, it's one of those things that sounds super complex.
Absolutely. The simplest way to think about it is this.
Imagine your regular computer, right? It uses bits, like light switches.
They're either on or off, a 0 or a 1.
Simple, clear cut.
So look at that. I was able to join the podcast. It's like phoning into a podcast and getting them to help me out with a question. I love having that option. Now the video overview, this brand new feature. I'm going to go and look at customize, and I'm going to give it some information. I'm just going to say, present this to a grade 6 class because I'm curious of how it will make this. I'm going to click generate. Just like before, we have to wait a while. But remember, this is going to create a video for me with like a slideshow with it, with the talking. All right, here we go. It's all done here. Like before, you can rename, download, share, delete. Let's go ahead and play this. So this is going to open up. This is a preview window. I can go full screen. Remember, if I download this, then I'd have this on my computer. I can open it up. I'm just playing from here. Let's go ahead, hit play. I'm going to listen to it for a bit.
Hey everyone, and welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're heading out on a really special adventure. Think of it like a quest into a secret world that's being built.
I can see already grade sixes being really interested about this. This really builds a lot of curiosity what they're even talking about.
As we speak, a world that is going to change, well, pretty much everything. So, want to know a secret? I mean, a real secret about what's coming next?
I can jump ahead.
This amazing new world, this future powered by quantum technology, it's not just going to build itself. It needs pioneers. It needs creators. It needs a new kind of hero. And who knows? By the end of this, you might just realize that one of those heroes could be you. Now,
this is really interesting. Just listening to the way it's done and everything, this is something that could be quite useful and engaging to use, another way to learn these different topics. Again, all the things that I've showed you before, everything works pretty easy. We can share it here. We can close it down. Now, from all these sources over here, we have these new sources from the study guide to our mind map to our podcast, now to a video. I hope you found this guide to Notebook LM helpful and something that you can.
Okay. One of the things that he did not mention is that you can now create multiple audio overviews. So you might say, okay, I want one that talks about the general subject, or I want one that's aimed at 10-year-olds. I want another one that's aimed at university students, or I want one that's intended to influence an audience. And I want another one that's just an explainer that explains what's going on. So you could, if you have a product information, you could say, I want you to make a video overview that's a sales presentation, or I want you to make a video overview that explains to repair people how to do the repairs. So the idea is you can create multiple audio and video overviews. You can create a audio overview and say, okay, I need it to be in 6 different languages, so that you can now generate and have it in the 6 different languages that that you're looking for. So just your thoughts and comments in general about the new features here to Notebook LM. Keep in mind, even though it's looking very obvious that people are making videos that they have access. As I said, I don't have access. I went and queried, and it says the rollout is supposed to be starting on 4 August. That's Monday. So potentially here we'll have it, but they're saying that everybody in the US should have access within a couple of weeks. It's in English only right now for the video. But I think here it's pretty obvious they did that with English only in the audio, and then came multiple languages. You can't interrupt the video overviews right now, but we know that's possible because JotForms does it with it'll create the narration to PowerPoint presentations, and you can interrupt the PowerPoint presentation and ask the speaker to answer questions that go deeper than just what is in the PowerPoint presentation itself on that subject. So
I just opened Notebook LM, Bill.
Yeah.
And I just put in a screenshot. I have access.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, I just
you're in
saw
Canada.
it for the first time.
And you're in Canada.
I used it yesterday. I didn't see it, but I just opened it this morning and it's there.
And they said here it was only being released to the US right now.
They want us to feel like important. We need it these days.
So I just put in a little screenshot in the chat. You can see that, yes, there is the video there.
Well,
Because
now
when
I
you said
feel
it, I said, "Oh, I
really,
don't
I
remember
feel
that."
really jealous because I just took a look and I still don't have access.
So I'm going to try it this
Oh, for
afternoon.
sure. Give it a workout there. Okay, so at any rate, there's let's see how much time we got. Okay, let's
30
talk
minutes.
just a moment here. What are your impressions? We've looked at the study mode in ChatGPT, where we looked at the new video features and the ability to do multiple overviews, audio and video overviews. That's coming within the next week or two. If you're outside the geographic area that's making it available right now, then use a VPN, because I got a report from somebody using a VPN from Europe, and they had access apparently as well.
Bass just wrote a note there as well saying they do have access as well.
Who did? Who said that?
Bass in New York.
Oh, okay. So, yeah,
That's
Jarek,
me,
hi. So
Veronica.
you have access to the new interface as well?
Yes, I have access to audio, video, mind maps, reports, all of
Oh,
those features.
and what browser are you guys using?
Chrome.
Currently, Chrome, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, now I gotta contact those folks here and say what the heck is going on now. Uh,
Yes, also using Chrome.
and you have access as well, Jerica?
Yes.
Okay, I have to try another computer. It may be my cache may be locked into the older version, so I'll try that on another computer. Okay, so but let's say here, assuming you're going to get access to this pretty soon, to what degree do you think that Notebook LM is really going to help you to learn and understand anything? Because you
For
could,
me,
especially
it's
now, the featured notebooks, keep in mind, Google looks like they are starting this idea. And then somewheres I read yesterday that it's going to be possible for people to take a notebook that they feel is really valuable and upload it into a library that people will be able to have access to. So potentially here we will be seeing a lot of curated notebooks on everything, on everything you can imagine soon, and the ability to have different levels of walkthroughs to help you understand the content. So your thoughts on that?
well for me, I think what's more important is to be able to use the tool, the Notebook LM tools, to explain what we're trying to do to other people,
Right. Well, that's the
right?
advantage, to be able to take the video overview and then being able to share it.
Well, this is why I'm thinking like because I try to explain what we're doing to other people, and they just kind of it goes over their head, and they just I don't know what that you just said. But to have that visual, I think now because I've been using audio, and I've been sending these audio sort of interview style dialogues, right?
Mhm.
But now to have the video, I think that's going to help a lot.
Now, one of the things that you can do with the audio, or even with just the audio overview so far, is you can take a website or a video that you made, load it into Notebook LM, go over to the audio overview and ask it to do a critique of the effectiveness, the communications effectiveness of whatever that is.
Hmm.
And so that is going to be interesting, that you're going to be able to generate a video here and potentially then convert that back. If you'll notice that it goes down under the notes, and then you can convert that to a source, promote it to be a source, and then select that as the only source and have it critique itself.
And then do that iteratively and make it better and better.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think this is the thing when I talk about here, just practice, just, when it comes to the prompting to find out what works. It's interesting that the more I use these tools, the more I find myself that I'm formulating a question that I have, that the way I pick my words, so that I don't want to pick words that guide it in a particular direction. Sometimes I want to pick words that are going to get me the broadest answer, or sometimes I want to get it that no, I want it to be more narrow and specific.
Sometimes the shortest prompt is even the best one.
Yes, exactly. Especially if you go over to ChatGPT and use projects, or even if you just go in for yourself and you put custom instructions. The idea is projects allows, normally you can set custom instructions for yourself, for your account. But projects let you set custom instructions for each group of prompts. So if you have a lot of varied interests, there's value in creating projects for each of your areas of interest and then being able to go in and have the custom instructions for that particular area. Pay attention to this, don't pay attention to that. That's really valuable. And the custom instructions for doing your audio overviews and now your video overviews is something that I think is very valuable. Okay, we got a couple of minutes left. I'm going to just go and try to start another topic here. Uh,
This has been a really valuable session for getting these updates. Thank you, Bill. Because although I use these tools almost every day now, I don't necessarily keep track like your comment about Gemini being better with deep research now.
Okay. No, that's not how I wanted to go. I'm trying to find I have a video lined up here. I just have to find the right one. Where would it be?
Got to start using the AI tools to automate your workflow, Bill.
Yeah. By the way,
Line
here's
them all
something if
up.
you're not familiar with vids, here you have the ability now in this vids at what is it? It's under
Google Vids.
yeah,
First time
it's
I see that.
Google Vids. You can do a search for it, but you notice over here it's got this thing called avatar. It'll generate avatars for you. You can go and do VO videos. You can generate avatars. It'll generate scripts for you. It's pretty wild that you can create scenes. So that's something here that could be of interest to you guys.
My question is, let's say you're using Notebook LM and have a video overview. Could you then import this video into the Google Docs video and then edit it and add avatars or something?
Well, I haven't used the avatars, but if you have a video, my understanding is if you have a video there, you can add an avatar to it and presumably with speech.
This is interesting. More things to try.
So I'm wondering if you can edit the video in Notebook LM, or would I have to do
No,
it
you can't.
separately?
You can't. As far as I know, you can't. Um, you cannot edit the videos in Notebook LM. You'd have to go into Gemini or into AI Studio or now into Vids. All three of those
Okay.
give you the capability there to edit. Oh,
But
wait.
you could interact with the podcasts in Notebook LM, but you can't really interact with the
What
video.
Notebook LM is what it's doing is it's yes, you can interact with the podcast, but as far as the videos go, it is taking the transcript. It's creating the transcript.
Okay.
So it's
and
not
then you're
interactive on the
interacting with the
videos yet.
transcript.
Got it. Thank you for the clarification.
Yeah.
I'm sure that Notebook LM will come up with eventually so that the videos are interactive as well.
Yeah. Where on earth is maybe it's this one? Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah. So where is no. Okay, so I'm going to see how long these are.
I know, but just once.
Welcome to another week in generative AI. This week is mostly about unique new features that have been added to various top applications that allow you to do things that, well, partially weren't doable before, or now are just a way more efficient way of doing something. So as you'll see, we'll be talking about Notebook LM adding video overviews, where it turns all of your documents into a PowerPoint later in the video. And our journey starts in what I think is the most significant release of this week. I really did not expect this one. This is called Opal by Google. And it's essentially like one of the many AI app builders that you're probably very familiar with at this point. I mean, we covered most of the big tools on this channel, some of them sponsored, some of them just covered in these shows and tutorials. And the deal with these is usually relatively similar. They give you a simpler interface to build applications with the power of AI. So now Google also entered this very crowded space, but they did it in an unconventional way. And both me and the team actually really like how this came out. It's called Opal. It's an experimental AI app that you can use for free. Me sitting in Lisbon, I had to use a VPN to tell the browser that I'm in the US to use this. But look at it. The way it works is you can pick one of these preset apps here. So we're just going to go with the business profiler for this little demo here. And then it already has the entire workflow set up and you can just use it here on the right. So it's kind of a different version of Claude's artifacts, but it gives you this dynamic automation type preview where you can actually edit it. So it's not just a standalone application, it's actually a sequence of different actions and the application over here. So in summary, I think this falls somewhere between the no-code automation tools and Claude's artifacts that I personally am a big fan of, because it's probably the easiest way to build an app in the entire AI space. Okay, so let's just have a look at what we have here with the business profiler. So there's a first step which asks for input URL of a business you want to analyze. Then there's a second step which researches it with Gemini Flash and a custom prompt and some tools here. And then there's a third step that summarizes the results. Really simple. But the beauty of this is, one, you can extend it, and two, you can just try it here right away. You can just say start. I'm going to put in our website URL and see what it comes up with. And there it is. It took some info from our homepage. It took some info from our LinkedIn. It found some discussion on Reddit that it summarized here. And there you go. So this thing in itself might not be the most useful thing in the world, but I think with this editor here, that's where it gets interesting, because I can remix this app and then add extra steps. So this is me doing that for the first time. But as you can see, you could also add more assets, just like you use from some of the no-code builders. But again, I think the unique thing here is that you have the app here right away, which I suppose does make it comparable to something like Lovable, but you don't really have workflows there, right? It just builds a full application for you and you get the results, you get to link it to other things, but you don't get to control this flow. And especially when it comes to customizing the prompts and using AI in the middle, you really want control over the flow. And yeah, to me, this is just the first time I've seen this mix of very high user friendliness and customizable workflow. And that's why it caught my attention and I wanted to show it to you, because I feel like just because right now we have this avalanche of different AI coding tools that build applications for you, I think that that is happening because coding is the first big use case that it unlocks next to information retrieval, research and stuff. We'll actually talk about a research paper later in this episode showing you what the use cases within Microsoft's Copilot are within companies. But yeah, I think so many apps these days do AI empowered development because that just works really well. But next up, we'll have all of these other niches unlocked, like the sciences, the writing, marketing, sales, because all of those, they sort of work, but we don't really have these type of applications purposely built for them because they just don't work well enough. And I think the interfaces for that are not going to be a command line like Claude Code, because just devs are familiar with this interface. But I think it's going to look more like this, and that's why I wanted to show you. Again, if you want to try this, you can take all of these and try building your own writing app based on the preset they already have. And maybe one last comment that I want to add here is that, yeah, if you have been learning the basics of automation, or you're doing that right now, I think that's the right path to take right now.
Bill, we haven't seen anything about this on the screen. It's just nothing.
What? You're not seeing anything?
No. I should have interrupted before because I felt it was wrong. There's no visual
It's
at
the
all.
same with me. I don't see anything except a little bar at the top.
Okay, hold on a minute. Do you see something now?
And automation skills will carry
Yes,
forward.
we do.
Okay.
A man sitting in a chair.
Yeah, yeah.
Browser that I'm in the US to use this. But look at it, the way it works is you can pick one of these preset apps here. So we're just going to go with the business profiler for this little demo here. And then it already has the entire workflow set up and you can just use it here on the right. So it's kind of a different version of Claude's artifacts, but it gives you this dynamic automation type preview where you can actually edit it. So it's not just a standalone application, it's actually a sequence of different actions and application over here. So in summary, I think this falls somewhere between the no-code automation tools and Claude's artifacts that I personally am a big fan of because it's probably the easiest way to build an app in the entire AI space. Okay, so let's just have a look at what we have here with the business profiler. So there's a first step which asks for input URL of a business you want to analyze. Then there's a second step which researches it with Gemini Flash and a custom prompt and some tools here. And then there's a third step that summarizes the results. Really simple. But the beauty of this is, one, you can extend it, and two, you can just try it here right away. You can just say start. I'm going to put in our website URL and see what it comes up with. And there it is. It took some info from our homepage. It took some info from our LinkedIn. It found some discussion on Reddit that it summarized here. And there you go. So this thing in itself might not be the most useful thing in the world, but I think with this editor here, that's where it gets interesting because I can remix this app and then add extra steps. So this is me doing that for the first time. But as you can see, you could also add more assets, just like you use from some of the no-code builders. But again, I think the unique thing here is that you have the app here right away, which I suppose does make it comparable to something like Lovable, but you don't really have workflows there, right? It just builds a full application for you and you.
Okay, I'm going to, well, we're just about out of time, but I'm going to see if,
get the results, you get to link it to other things, but you don't get to control this flow. And especially when it comes to customizing the prompts and using AI in the middle, you really want control over the flow. And
okay.
Is Opal out already? Because I'm trying to Google them right now and I
Yeah,
can't
it's
seem to reach the.
It's I think you have to do, let's see, I think it's opal dot with google.com, if I'm not mistaken. Okay. Okay, so now let me see if I can share that. Okay, so here I'm in that, and you can see it's got one of these things called Learning with YouTube. I'm just going to click on that, and you see here it opened up. It's got 5 steps to this here, and I can modify this process. So here I have to put in the video URL. That's what it's calling for, and then it's going to extract the transcript. Then it's going to analyze the educational content. Then it's going to generate a quiz, and then it'll display the report. So, and each one of these, if you go in, here's the prompt. So you put a prompt in, here, and it says, okay, it's gonna where you collected the URL over here, that's now in the middle of the prompt. So it's going to pull the output of that step into here, and then it's submitting it's generating this content here. And let me see what happens when I click on that. Oh, I didn't put in a YouTube, so I guess that's what. So it'll generate a quiz. It'll analyze the educational content here on those steps. Here's the okay, it says you're a skilled transcriber, blah, blah, step-by-step instructions. Retrieve the video using the provided video ID, process the video to extract the spoken audio, transcribe the spoken audio into text, review the generated transcript for accuracy and clarity, and output the final transcript. So that's that one step. And then it goes into the next one here, and it has the step-by-step instructions of how it's going to convert that transcript into educational content. So it breaks down the video transcript into distinct segments or sections that represent different aspects of the educational content, blah, 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 blah. So that gives you an idea. This is something that's new. I would recommend you can do a YouTube search for Opal and Google, and you'll find some examples. The ease of use of this, I think, is the thing that makes it exciting. And this can generate mini apps that you saw when I first came in here. That it's almost like Notebook LM in that, okay, here's all the gallery of the apps. Now these are apps that somebody else made, but once you make some yourself, I think it shows here. Here, because I tried this, I created an untitled Opal app that doesn't have anything in it yet. It's empty, right? So so then it'll create, okay, a demo. So anyway, you can walk through that because I don't want to take the time. Now, so this is something here that I think could be exciting as well.
So we can create an app to be able to get people to be piece in everything and get everything as piece.
Yeah, yeah. Also here, one of the things that the demo, if you look for a guy named Matt Wolf, he did an overview about a week ago, and he mentioned Opal, and he showed he showed an example, and he showed how easy it was to set it up to have it have an app that every morning would summarize all the new announcements of anything that's changed in the AI world in the previous 24 hours. So
How do you
Lloyd,
spell
that's like
wolf?
your thing that you were doing on a weekly basis.
I didn't hear you, Lloyd.
How do you spell wolf? W-U-L-F?
WOLFE.
L-F-E, wolf. Okay.
Matt Wolf. That's his channel.
All right. So looks like we only have a couple minutes here.
Yeah, and the last thing I want to mention here is because the question about doing things with live video. One of the things, if you go into Google Gemini and you import, you can load a file into the Gemini and then talk about that file. One of the things you can do is you can load in a YouTube video. And what's different about this is just like advanced speech and ChatGPT, it does not translate it into text and then process a text prompt and then get the result back and then translate it back into audio. What this is doing is it actually processes the video. It understands the video. And the way you can test that is if you have a video and something's happening, somebody picks something up off a table, or there's a sign or the name of a store that's driven by, you can ask it, what's the name of the store that the car drove by? So nobody spoke it, so it's not going to show up in any kind of transcript. But the thing about it is it actually understands the content of the video itself. So
Yeah,
with
actually,
that,
I did that with Google Gemini a little while back, where I gave it a video, a YouTube video with no audio. It was just some people that were dancing on a beach, and it explained what the people were doing and how they were interacting and the scene they were in, and it was explaining.
So
Did
so
they
the
put in the
important
music too?
Yeah, it was silent.
No, I'm saying because of their moving, it created music for the rhythm that they were keeping.
No, it wasn't creating the video. It was the video I uploaded.
Yeah. That's just the ability to that you can talk and chat with the Gemini about the content of videos, and it will take both the text, the written and the verbal content, as well as the nonverbal content, and understand the whole thing, which is important. So what are we seeing out of this? We're seeing here the multimodal aspect is really coming together here. And especially from an educational perspective, when baby Grok is there and it's going to have the ability to read to and tutor and coach babies basically up until comes along. We've got the ability here with the study and learn tool from ChatGPT. As they said, that's just the start. That they're planning to take this a lot further. For our idea of close the educational gap at fourth grade, it's going to be able to say, okay, hey, I need to know these. Somebody's going to curate the study and learn so that it'll be in projects that have the knowledge content that you're expected to know out of a grade level in a subject. And you're just going to be able to go in and say, hey, help me learn all this stuff. That's going to be coming relatively quickly. And then we get into the Notebook LM, and it's got the ability to explain for you how to do anything. I think we're going to see within a couple of rounds, you're going to say, hey, here's a description of a text description of how, and with pictures in it, a PDF maybe of how to repair the brakes on my bike. And this thing's going to create a video showing you how to create the fix the brakes on your bike. So
there's two hands up I'm seeing as we close out here, maybe those last two
okay,
comments.
yes, okay, let's do it real quick.
I'll make it
Kurt.
real brief.
Yes,
Children
Kurt.
without ability of social cues only learned through interactions with humans rather than flat screens. Also,
Oh, keep in mind here that I didn't show it, but there
attention
was a
deficit
video I was
disorder.
going to show that's showing the state of the humanoid robots, probably within 2 to maximum 5 years. You're not going to be able to distinguish real live humans from humanoid robots. And from emotional, from a physical, they're going to feel like humans. They're going to behave like humans. That's something we just have to face. That's just something that's coming, right? So the thing about it is like with empathy, the reason why the AI is scoring higher on empathy is because the recipients of empathy don't care whether you really care or don't. They just care about what was the empathy that was projected onto them. And so this is why when you go to a medical school, you actually take a course on bedside mannerism. How do you become better at your bedside manner? And you may be totally an unfeeling human, but you learn to simulate a caring human, if you would. So whether it's a simulated AI simulation of a human or a human that's just pretending to be empathetic, the person receiving it, they really don't care why why the source was. Yes.
So it looks like Joan
Yeah.
has.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I have to go on another call. So are you too, Bill.
Yeah.
But I just want to say that thanks for all your help that you've given me for the AI tools, which greatly helped me in actually being able to finish my introductory courses. So I just want to say thank you. I have a platform for that, and I have about 150 courses that I'm working on, but it was the AI that really helped me to speed it up. So I just want to say that it does help. You have to be very careful and make sure that I mean, I'm going through each one to make sure it's verified and all the links that the resources are working, and add international ones. They add most of them US ones, but that's okay. But it's very helpful in organizing you and getting you to think. And my greatest struggle was the prompts, because I would ask something, because I tend to speak, I'm a visionary, right? So I tend to speak like that. But AI doesn't want to hear that. It wants specifics. And so that really was very hard for me in the last 9 weeks to be so specific to get what I want. So I just want to say it does work, and it is a good tool. So,
and keep in mind, it's never going to be as bad as it is today.
Yeah.
It's only getting better.
One of the best things was using the Gemini DeepSeek. It really, really is a good tool.
The deep search.
Yeah. So anyway, I have to run because I have to be on the other call.
Me too. So,
yeah. So bye-bye, everyone.
Yes, I'd like to thank everyone for sticking with us today. And hopefully we'll be together again next week. Okay, Kurt.
Zoom in peace.
Bye-bye.
Yes. Okay. Bye,
Thanks,
everyone.
Kurt. Thanks.
Adios.
Thank you, Bill.
Shalom,
Peace,
shalom.
everyone. Thank you. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum. Namaste.